Liaison. 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 Her Spanish was good, so she became the liaison. Liaison. Did you know I had a liaison with an investment banker?
You're listening to the Mystic Menagerie podcast, your regular descent into the world of alternative entertainment, art, and culture. Bolt the door, light the fire, and pour yourself a glass of Virgin Rouge, and let your hosts, Dan Baines and Lord Freddie Valentine, guide you through the Stygian depths of your darkest delights. Warning. Listener discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome to Mystic Menagerie, episode number 15, which is the second of our November shows, and we have a real fun-packed show lined up for you today. And joining me at the Mystic Menagerie Mansion is my co-host, Lord Freddie Valentine. How are you, Freddie?
I'm fabulous today, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. And I'd say it's the first time we've ever done 2 shows in a month, and it's proved quite productive. It's been easier than I thought.
It has, because we've had some great interviews as well. Do you know what I mean? And it's when you've got good guests like we've had, you know, the time goes very quick recording it. It doesn't seem to take very long doing it because you've got people that have got a lot to say, interesting people, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a really good show this month. I feel we've got a real mixed bag of things. You know, we've got a fantastic film director and musician. You know, we've got, of course, the wonderful Nathan and the legend that is S-Rob.
We have.
So you can't really argue with a show as diverse and as packed as that. Some exclusive interviews here.
Yeah, no, and I think we're going to do something groundbreaking on this show, and I think it's the first time it's probably ever been done on a podcast, and that is we're actually going to do a live summoning of a shadow person. Or actually, more than one shadow person. It's a whole is it a battalion of shadow people?
Three battalions. Three battalions
of shadow people. Which, if you go over to the Facebook page for the Mystic Menagerie, we'll see a Sugar Sync download link where you can download the script for the summoning or the invocation of the battalion of three battalions of shadow people. So you can actually join in and do this at home with us when we do it later in the show.
So it's interactive witchcraft, you know what I mean? I think it's the first thing that's been done. I don't think even Darren Brown's got the nerve to tackle something like that, you know, on a Channel 4 special, you know. People dressed up as zombies, but not actually summoning real shadow people. No. I think that even he was too scared to do that, you know what I mean? I think most people, even Brian Blessed would be scared to do that. I think we've really stretched the boundaries here.
We're pushing the boundaries of paranormal podcasting, and we've been assured that it's perfectly safe. There's a closing ceremony as well, so what we'll do is we'll actually summon the shadow people during the interview, and then we'll leave it for 20 or 30 minutes so you get the benefit of actually seeing the shadow people and being scared out of your wits maybe, and then we'll actually go through a closing ceremony which will suck the shadow people back through the portal to hell from which they came.
Yeah, and it's all safe because, you know, we've got S-Rob with us doing it, you know what I mean? So it feels like safe there. He's like our occult health and safety officer because he knows what he's doing. And in this interview, you'll hear you know, how knowledgeable he is, you know, and that we feel secure because we've got S-Rob with us, you know. It feels very secure that he's leading this here.
That's it. He wears a hard hat and he's got like a fluorescent yellow jacket with an inverted pentagram on the back.
He's the health and safety officer from hell. That's what he can be in the show as well, to make sure that all your rituals are safe. Yeah. So sorry. Could be a good job that going around covens as a health and safety officer, making sure they're using the right knives and sacrificial swords. I wonder if there is one. It would be a good job that.
It would be very good. Any listeners who can actually hear children singing in the background eerily, it's actually my children. So it's not EVP or anything slightly.
They're not
spooky.
Victorian. not Victorian spirits.
I tell you what, let me actually close the studio door, because they will carry on singing throughout. And with your budgie and my kids, I don't think we're going to be able to get a word in edgeways. So hold on 2 seconds. Right, I have returned, so we should have some peace and quiet.
The budgie is right shut, though. I mean, with the kids and the budgie seat, it's like a human avian version of Steps, wasn't it? Like 4 of them.
It is, yeah.
X Factor next year, you know what I mean? Market them.
Yeah.
Manage them, you know what I mean?
I'm in my quiet space, the studio in the Mystic Menagerie mansion. I'm in like the upper tower. So
the man cave.
The man cave, yeah. I'm quite safe and quiet up here, where I keep all my shiny things that I don't want the kids destroying.
It's like the Batcave, but for adults.
It is. It's full of the stuff that when I die, they'll just look at it and think it's a load of crap and throw it in a skip. But for me, it's all, little precious things.
Exactly. I was for that. Things that are precious to you. I remember going to this lady ages ago. She was a psychic, and she used to transform into different faces, like a Chinese spirit or whatever. And she said about things in life, whether you make music or whatever you do, one person's rubbish is good for someone else. That's a quote she come out with.
Yeah, I can see my kids now, like, I've not been in the ground 30 seconds, and they'll be like, "Oh, look, what's this? Oh, a signed HR Giga picture. No, that's trash. That's going in the bin. Or it'll end up on a car boot sale." And loads of other sort of bits of movie memorabilia, which are quite precious, will just end up, in a boot in Tunbridge Wells in a field.
That's horrifying, it.
Yeah.
The thought of my signed Cheeky Girl CD turning up in Oxfam is a horrifying. That's end times, you know what I mean?
It sends a shiver up your spine, that one.
It does, yeah. Horrifying.
And on the show as well, I've just realised we're episode number 15. We've actually now have more podcast shows than we have than issues of the magazine.
We have, haven't we?
So yeah, we've overtaken. We're actually finished on the magazine on issue number 14. So we're now we've overtaken it. And
one ahead.
We are one ahead. And also, later on in the show, we will be announcing the winner of our Halloween Hamper of Horrors. So we actually only had 24 reviews, which, I don't know, I think the prize was pretty good. And for saying,
it's amazing.
We do know how many listeners we've got, only 24 really managed to take the time out to write a really short review on iTunes.
And we know how many, don't we, Dan? We know how many there is.
We do. It's a bit slack. Come on, next time we do it, there might be more, because next time the prize will be even better. But we will announce the winner later on. And if you did write a review, you've got a 1 in 24 chance of winning. And but
we're good.
It is. We're going to get our Fortean Oracle, Nathan Sarea. He's going to actually select the winner. So that will be in the Fortean Oracle section later on in the show.
Yeah, excellent. So it's all going to be good. And there's people that are listening still keep putting the reviews on there because, in future competitions, you may be eligible to enter the competitions by having a review.
Yeah.
So, keep the reviews coming. I know there's thousands of you that listen to this show, but 24 of you manage reviews. Please put reviews on iTunes for us if you can. Just simple go over there and just put lovely show and give us 5 stars or whatever. That's enough. Just please do that for us.
Ace 5 star.
Wicked guy.
Awesome.
Like that,
Awesome 5 stars.
Awesome.
It all helps. Yeah, it all helps us creep up the charts and helps us get exposure. And we appreciate everything all of our listeners do, and that includes everyone who backs us on Patreon as well. There's been a bit of Patreon has been a bit quiet this month. However, it goes in fits and starts. It's just one of those things. It's coming up to Christmas, so I expect that most people are putting all of their well-earned cash into buying tat for relatives who they don't really like. That's what I end up doing.
But isn't giving someone a Patreon subscription to the Mystic Menagerie the best Christmas present you should give somebody?
I wouldn't want anything else. That's just the perfect present.
Well, if you're a lonely person and you're on your own, I'll treat myself at Christmas. Patreon subscription to Mystic Menagerie with all the lovely bonuses that come with it.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Exactly, yeah. That's so be kind to yourself this Christmas.
Anyone who's been monitoring the Patreon page will have noticed something odd, and that is that our backer amount has actually gone down. There's something new that Patreon have actually implemented on the site, and it's not actually that the amount of back. We've actually still got 40 Patreon backers. But the price that they actually show, or the actual funding level that they show on the page now, is what it is after Patreon have taken all of their fees away and the transaction fees. Whereas before, it was a gross amount, so it was everything before they took the fees away. So they've actually they show it slightly differently now. So they're actually showing you what Freddie and or the Mystic Menagerie would get as a net amount. So if it looks like we've actually gone down, we haven't. It's just the way they've changed the site. Bit confusing, but I suppose it keeps it all above board at their end.
Yeah, it's such a life.
Yeah. And what's the backer reward this month, Freddie?
Well, this month I'm going to be doing a special guide to people that want to. You've got a deck of tarot cards. You give readings to your friends. But how do you get out there and work as a tarot reader? You know what I mean? If you've got the ability to read the tarot. Where do you give readings? Who do you give them to? How long do you do them for? That's the sort of questions that people ask, because often when people buy a deck of cards, they start to sort of give readings to their friends and family. And do you know what I mean? People get a reputation, and you tend to get out readings for free to your friends. But then when you want to become a professional tarot reader or work in that field, a lot of people don't know where to go or how to do it, or how long to give readings for. So it's an area that people haven't really delved into as such. There's a lot of books about how to read tarot. You know what I mean? Even when you buy a deck of cards, you get a book with it. But not many of them tell you how to get where to go to give your readings and where to do it.
The ethics and management around it.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, when you're dealing with it as a profession, or you're working as a tarot reader, you have to there are ethics around there. There's certain things you can read about, give a reading about, and other things you have to avoid. Just purely to cover yourself and to cover them, and also for legal reasons. There's all different things involved here. So reading should be uplifting. So, and that's what it's about: is how to have people satisfied having a good tarot reading as well.
That's it. So we'll get that recorded and out the door to the Patreon backers at some point next week. So if you're listening to the show and you want to receive that as your backer reward this month, then if you just head over to Patreon and look for the Mystic Menagerie, and if you back at the Inner Sanctum level, which is $15, it will give you access to all of the wonderful freebies that we give away every month. You can back us at a smaller level, but that doesn't entitle you to. That'll entitle you to a free back copy of any of the Mystic Menagerie magazines you want every month. You get a different copy every month, but it doesn't allow you that extra reward of getting your hands on all the free stuff. And we've had some really cool stuff in the past. We've had interviews. We've recorded my Mummified Fairy interview. We've had ebooks, magazines, video tutorials, vouchers, all sorts. We're giving people. We're givers rather than takers, aren't we, Freddie? Definitely. Cavaliers rather than roundheads.
That's it. But I feel that there's a lot more to come as well. I mean, we're going to try, and the people that are subscribed to Patreon, we've got a lot more surprises over the next year. So there'll be lots of goodies and interesting things, and we'll try and keep it interested for you. A variety of stuff.
That's it. I mean, we did hit our first goal, which is our Bazaar Day Out in London. We still haven't nailed down a date yet, purely because it's such a busy period for both of us over Christmas. And in January, I'm actually out in the US for the East Coast Spirit Sessions. So that's like slap bang in the middle of January. So we're probably going to be looking at some point, either February or early March, I think, to do so you can meet the team. You can meet Freddie and I, and we'll take you around the dark and mysterious sights and sounds of London, and we'll end up probably in the 10 Bells or Dirty Dick's and drink the night away and tell ghost stories and share fun tales around a fire.
Yeah, it'd be great. Good fun as well. So, we can have a bit of a laugh. It'd be nice to meet the people listening to the show as well, and to have a chat about unusual paranormal things and spooky stories may have as well. So we'll have a great time.
That's it. Well, speaking of spooky stories and stuff, what have you been up to over November, apart from obviously doing lots of recording for the podcast? What else have you been up to?
Yeah, I've quite a busy time. I mean, I have a lot of events going on here, paranormal events. I did one at this abandoned pub. It's like, it's about sort of 300 or 400 years old, I think it was, but it's basically rotting and falling apart. It's a really old building. And it used to be a courthouse, and they had cells and that in there. Basically where the kitchen was used to be the cells, But apparently over the road is where they used to hang people. It's
right.
Like, it's in the middle of nowhere. It's a bit like Very League of Gentlemen, all these sort of wet fields and And it's very strange. When we pulled up there and parked our cars in there, there was like the next field was full of like gypsies and caravans all looking over the fence. You know what I mean? Real proper. And we thought, is that car right? And the geezer goes, oh no, I paid him like some bunts each week to look after the place. It's like abandoned. This geezer owns it.
Jeez.
So yeah, they were like real. Yeah, but it's in the middle of nowhere. You know, if any atmosphere, it's like a real horror film location.
Whereabouts was that?
It was near Tring.
Near where? Sorry.
Tring. Near
Tring.
Tring.
I was going to say you went all robotic then.
All right.
It was like Tring.
Yeah. Bit Stephen Hawking. Yeah, it's near Tring. It's like all these fields. There's nowhere around there. But no, strange enough, what was over the road was a closed like shopping place. You know, like with these retail parks.
Yes.
Apart from that, it's just all fields and a long road. You know what I mean? And this abandoned pub. And I think they were thinking of knocking it down, but I think someone's going to buy it and try and make it a garden centre or something like this. But it was a creepy old building, really. You know, we had when we were sitting up in there, we had to have a log fire in it. It's so cold. And we were sitting there, the front door open, went, like, as if someone just come storming through it, and there was no one there. And one bloke got pushed twice, and he fell down the stairs. This spirit, he said, pushed him. Yeah. So yeah, it's quite a mad evening. You know, it's really a good spirit investigation.
Excellent. Yeah, so
that was keeping me busy.
Yeah, good. I mean, I've been up to my eyeballs in work, essentially. I had a bit of a brainwave when I got back from America, with the aid of a friend and client of mine called Chad Cruz over in the US. He sort of sent me a message via Facebook to ask if I'd got any effects or tricks to do with the Krampus, to obviously coincide with the new Krampus film that's out on the 5th of December. And obviously, you know, the Krampus is getting a more sort of, it's actually coming back into folklore as a recognised part of Christmas, whereas before it was always brushed under the carpet. So he said, you know, have I ever made something? Could I make a Krampus or something? I thought, well, I could actually make a festive version of From Hell, which is one of my biggest selling bizarre magic tricks or effects, whatever you want to call them, that I've got available. So I got the artwork together within probably a few days, knocked a prototype out, photographed it, stuck it on the website, and I thought, well, with it being so close to Christmas, you know, I'm only going to make 50 because I don't think 50 will sell, because it's a niche thing. And I don't want to push myself too much. I put the 50 on there, and they sold within 10 hours.
Wow.
So then I got tons of emails about more. So I actually did a wave 2 of another 50, and they've sold as well. So in the space of 2 weeks, I actually sold 100 decks of Krampusnacht, it's called, obviously German for Krampus Night.
Yeah.
And for anyone who doesn't know what the From Hell, well, the way the trick works is you just give a spectator a deck of photographs. There's 20 photographs of children from Victorian, well, turn of the century, so 1902 they're dated. And all they've got to do is decide whether that child was naughty or nice. And you put a stick down, and the stick represents naughty, and the bell represents nice. And they just put the photographs by the stick or the bell. And they obviously do it in a random fashion, but when you turn the photographs over, all of the children that you put in the nice pile have got Santa Claus or St. Nicholas on the back, like vintage Victorian cards, and on the back of the naughty ones they've all got the Krampus on the back, and they've all got children being carried off in wicker baskets and whipped and stuff. So it's a nice festive cautionary tale which you can do for children and adults. And it's great, you know, it's made me sort of start thinking more now about marketing things around time, you know, like everyone else does really, marketing around certain times of the year, like Christmas, Halloween. I can't really think of anything bizarre that you could do for Easter though, do you? Apart from a stigmata effect, maybe.
Well, funny enough, I did do a resurrection. It's sort of like semi-comic. But I did do a resurrection on stage once, an Easter show. We had an Easter gig. It's like a cabaret show, and I did one where I had this, you know these knives that you can get, which you slash your throat open with them. Do you know what I mean? Blood spurts out, like a theatrical one, you know. Yeah. I did that, you know, sort of slashed my wrist with it, and blood spurted out on stage, and I slumped in a chair and got someone in the audience to check my pulse, and there was no pulse. and then some dramatic music played. We used to have a house band at that time, and I rose up and wiped the blood away, and it's all healed up and everything's okay. So I did that resurrection before. So I suppose we could. I suppose that could be. I could explain how that was done with the Patreon special in Easter.
You could do, yeah. It was like you could do. It's a needle through arm, needle through palm.
Yeah, yeah.
Needle through. I'd want to the good thing about the Krampus though and things like that. It's not directly related. I mean, I know it. For me, it's doing something around the resurrection. And that is a bit too Christian for me. I'd be uncomfortable with doing it. Whereas I'm more comfortable with doing the Krampus because it's bringing a little sort of satanic element into what would be normally a very sanitized and clean holiday time of the year. So
definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, obviously Halloween. You could do Halloween, something along. I've already got an idea for Halloween, so I'm not going to reveal it just yet. But
Pancake Day.
Pancake Day. Hey, you could do you could have like a pancake in a pan and like pick a card, remember it, and then you flip the pancake, it sticks to the ceiling. They look up and burn onto the bottom of the pancake is their card, or burn into the pancake.
Honestly, that would probably, actually people, it's that sort of thing magicians would do, isn't it, actually?
It is. I'm surprised someone will probably take that idea now and steal it. Pancake Day type effect.
Oh, yeah. It has to be done. So you heard it here first. We claim copyright on any pancake-related, conjuring.
Yeah, not really my cup of tea, but so it's one of those things that, when you run your own business, you have to always be on your toes and thinking of the next big thing. And it never struck me before as to create something that revolves around the holiday seasons. I mean, like Christmas and Halloween and Hanukkah, yeah, Ramadan,
Diwali. It's all Ramadan. You can eat one.
Yeah, could well. Yeah, it's all there for the taking. You just got to have the imagination to do it.
It's so good done, yeah. Because I always wanted to do people bring out Christmas songs, don't they? Like Slade and all this, Cliff Richard. No one's done a Diwali song, and I reckon next year I'm gonna have a Diwali song. I reckon I'm gonna bring out. Yeah,
well, I mean,
pop song.
Everyone learns about Diwali in the UK. Obviously, with England's, Britain's connection with India. Diwali is it's one thing you always do at school, and you always go. We always used to go down to Leicester and take part in the Diwali celebrations and get rocking your tits off on really sugary Hindu sweets, Indian sweets, which were nice. But,
and everyone likes samosas and fireworks, so it's a universal thing. I think
it is. I mean, Diwali's great. It's October as well, isn't it? So it's almost it's around.
It's recent.
Yeah, because you always get the old saying, when the fireworks start going off in the middle of October, those bloody kids, it's not even bonfire night yet. And you say, it's probably Diwali now.
Diwali fights last a week, though. I mean, like with our bonfire night, we tend to have 5th of November and then maybe big displays on the Saturday around that day. Yeah. Diwali, it's like a week-long firework celebration.
Yeah, it's definitely, obviously, October onwards. I wish it was October to end of December all year round.
I'll tell you what, though, if I lived in Sarea, I'd hate firework night.
Yeah, I would. It's firework night every night in Sarea.
Yes, yeah.
It's like when I was in Bosnia off Dubrovnik. That was firework night every night as well.
Bloody hell, yeah.
Yeah, so, they were bloody big fireworks, though.
Big one, loud.
Yeah, some of them were about the size of a single-decker bus. So, a bit like the Chinese, like the dodgy Chinese ones you can sometimes get down the market.
Yeah, there's even them big bangers you used to buy. When you were a kid, you got a school trip to France, and there was these bangers you could buy.
Yeah.
And they were so big that if you put them under a car and lit it, the car will go in the air. You know what I mean?
Yeah, these got little sticks of dynamite, didn't they, the French ones?
That's right,
They had the proper fuse on them.
And every British kid who went to France for the day, he wanted to come back with one of them and a flick knife, because you couldn't buy them in England. They were the two things that are essential for every sort of British schoolboy in the 70s on a day trip to Calais.
Yeah. Porn cards, flick knife, bangers.
That's it, yeah.
That was your shopping list.
That was it, yeah.
That's still my shopping list if I go to France.
Exactly. You could probably buy them in a high street these days.
Yeah, true. So it's been a busy month. I'm still working on danbaines.com, my sort of artist website.
Excellent.
It's really hard writing a biography. I wrote one years and years ago, and I've used it ever since. But I need to write something different. So that's what's keeping the site from launching at the moment. All the art and stuff is done. All the pictures. Yeah, we'll see. I'm hoping to get it out in January, and it will just be a nice place to go if people want to look at, creepy dolls and deformed babies and stuff like that. So
excellent. And who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
Exactly. So yeah, we have a fun packed show lined up. As Freddie says, we've got a globally renowned director. We've got a musician who is the actual cousin of Kate Bush, and we've got S. Rob, renowned occult author, or should I say prolific occult author, and obviously our regular interlude with none other than Nathan Sarea, the Fortean Oracle. So
yes, it's fun.
It is. So shall we go and take a short break, top up our flagons, and re-adjourn, and I think we'll go and see if S. Rob has arrived at the Mystic Menagerie front door.
Let's go and have a chat with S. Rob.
I am the god of hellfire, and I bring you fire. I think you to burn.
Hello, and welcome back to the Mystic Menagerie podcast. Well, right now we have a treat for all you Mystic Menagerie listeners. You may remember we did a book review by prolific occult author S. Rob. Well, he's actually here now for a chat with us at the Mystic Menagerie Mansion, and we're going to find out what makes him tick, and also have a bit of an insight into his books. And hopefully at some point we're actually going to do an actual ritual to summon a shadow person, which you're all welcome to join in with if you wish. So we'd like to welcome to the Mystic Menagerie S. Rob. Hi there, S. Rob. Hello.
Hello, Rob.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, Rob, can you hear us?
He's gone.
He's gone.
It's still online. Hello. Hold on 2 seconds. Yeah, it's still there. Should be.
Hello, Rob.
Hi, great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you on the show.
Yeah, great to have you on the show at our last S. Rob, and we've been looking at your work, and there's a lot of work. You produced a lot, haven't you?
I have, yeah. I think the reason is I always seem to be inspired because it seems such a big subject, the occult. From the outside it seems quite small, but when you're inside, it's huge, isn't it? Because it's really connects to the whole world.
Well, it's turning over stones, isn't it? A lot of it's unknown and hidden, and the more you search, the more you discover. So on Amazon at the moment, you've actually got 101 books.
That's right, yeah. So quite a lot, isn't it?
It is. I mean, you must be writing pretty much all the time, is that right?
I write every day, yeah. So it's, I'm always researching and writing, so it's like, every day I'm writing something, yeah.
All right.
Where'd you get all the ideas from? Is it from stuff you've read or does it come to you?
Well, actually, sometimes you get sort of like fans and they'll say, can you write a book on this? So that helps as well. And what you also get is sometimes stuff from folklore, and there's all types of things, really. It just sort of happens, I just don't really have a problem finding ideas, so I'm quite lucky like that.
It just comes to you?
It does, yeah. It just sort of comes, And then,
ether.
Yeah, and if it's right, if it's the right idea from the start, and then once you've got the right idea, it just flows from there normally,
Yeah, it just feels right.
Exactly, yeah.
So what is your actual, give the listeners and ourselves a bit of an insight into, the background of yourself, where, sort of how you ended up doing what you do today, and where you almost when did you first really get interested in the occult?
I suppose really it was because my grandmother was interested in the occult. So it sort of came like that, But it wasn't like people think, because when you started, like I was age 5, people think that it's really heavy on, but it's not. It was the reverse. It was just sort of like a game, So, we used to because you had a coal fire. So, of course, we used to, me and brother would look and would try to divine the future using a cold fire. And then we had things like, and then you'd use, tea leaves, and then you go and like looking into glasses of water, and you've got things like pendulums, and then there was things like spell casting. She was very believing the power of poetry and words to work magic.
Sure.
And things like that. She was also believing the fairy folk, but it was very different to how other people think of the fairies, because she thought of it as like what people see is more like your brain working out what's actually there than what it actually is. She thought like the fairy folk is like a tree. So what you're basically seeing is your brain's making sense of it, because your eyes are connected directly to your brain.
Yeah.
And I mean, colours, well, they're not real either. It's just how you interpret it.
True.
True. Because of sound, and we don't see sound, because it would really, that's what screw things up. We wouldn't know where we were.
Mm.
So to her, it was just your mind's making sense of it, and you're seeing whatever you see, this little guy, but it doesn't actually mean that it's a little bloke.
Yeah, well, there's that medical condition called synesthesia, I think, isn't there, where you actually see colours and no one else can see them, but you see sound as different colours, which essentially is like the same thing as what you're saying. You're able, you're interpreting things that aren't actually visible, but your brain actually compensates for it and gives you an image. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's just a way of seeing the world, isn't it?
Yeah. So your gran then, who was into all the occult and stuff, has the sort of knowledge that she passed on to you, is that the sort of knowledge that was passed on to her as well for generations? So is it like, was she almost like a custodian of all this occult knowledge that she's bestowed on you?
She didn't talk about it much, but she did learn from her grandmother. So that was the way it was. It did sort of to some extent, yeah. But it wasn't like the sort of heavy occultism that some people imagine. It wasn't like your heavy ceremonial stuff. It was basically folklore. She knew all sorts of folklore and folk sort of magic and things, like how to take dirt off your hands using butter and sugar. I mean, who the hell knows that, But she did just stuff like that, stuff that old women of the time, I think a lot of them knew.
It's kind of been forgotten about today, though, hasn't it? It's all that stuff is pretty much laughed out or pushed under the carpet, to be honest. But you seem to be obviously keeping it alive in as many areas as humanly possible. I think when you first contacted me through Lebanon Circle, and I saw your catalogue of material, I just thought, wow, this guy had written so many books. Is obviously a huge wealth of occult knowledge. So, I mean, are the rituals and stuff in the books, are they old rituals that have been sort of modified by yourself, or are they just purely made up by yourself, or do they follow a kind of a much more ancient sort of source?
To be honest, it's a combination.
Okay.
Because some of them are, like for some things I tend to do on like liminal deities, doorway entities and things like that. And that's an idea that goes back a long way. And some things are, the structure of like very old sort of things, and some of them aren't, It's a combination of things. I use what works, basically. That's what I concentrate on, that side. Not the sort of doing stuff, but, getting it sort of works for people.
So what you do is very practical. The stuff you do is very much stuff that, it's to the point. And if people want results, this is the way to do it.
Well, yeah, because a lot of occultists, you get this sort of thing where they say, don't dabble. But the thing is, everybody, if you look in the past, was a dabbler. I mean, how many people in the past were really just occultists? There's not many. I mean, I am, and I write books, but, that's it. There isn't many, and there wasn't in the past. I don't even know if it really would have made sense for most people. It's got to fit around people's lives. It has to be practical and be able to fit within, It's easy to come up with stuff which is impractical that nobody will ever use.
Exactly.
And then to think that maybe it's fine, but it's not. People have to use this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, and do people give you good feedback when people that bought the book say, Rob, I bought this book, they're spelling it to, say, produce money or something, and they say, since I've done that, I've had a lot of success. Do you get a lot of good positive feedback like that?
I do. Oh, yeah, I do. And you also get people who want to take it a step further, and that's interesting, because you get a small amount of people who will also contact, and you'll say, well, this is great, but can I do this? How do I do this? they want to sort of take it a step further all the way, which is good. Because as far as I'm concerned, once that book is being wrote and they've got that book, that's their magic then, as much as mine, to do what they want with it and to fit it how they want to, I mean, there's people, and which I've encouraged, people who use like things from the 7 African powers, but they also use like Celtic deities and these things side by side. And I think that's great, actually. I think it's how things are supposed to be. I think that's really the way forward.
What's the best example of, you personally using one of your rituals? Say, I don't know, say, for example, probably not the best one to take an example from would be how to launch a full-scale black magic attack on your enemy, because obviously if something happened, you don't want to be, you don't want to divulge to the audience that that was successful. What about, say, I'm just scrolling through your books here that I've got in front of me. Just give us, I don't know, an example of something you've done that's had a positive result that is like can't be attributed to anything else but the power of the magic. I mean, I tend to use it alongside other things, But I mean, I use it all the time, for things like if I want, I want something to happen, or I want like, if I wanted more money, or I want someone to contact me, and so it's all the time, really. I tend to use Bodra quite a bit, but not just as a war deity to get rid of problems. So if I have someone else who's got a serious condition, I don't always use a healing entity. Sometimes I use Bodra to do battle with that particular illness. Now, I've had people who've been very ill, which have gotten better, which weren't necessarily going to get better, on the edge. I mean, my ex-father actually had like a heart condition. And he was he really was on the edge. So I did some magic for him, which he didn't know about, because I didn't tell him. And within a month, he was fine. He was walking around. And the doctors, the surgeons couldn't believe it. How is he walking around? He's like fine. And that's ridiculous. They didn't have any idea. And I thought, well, I'm not going to tell them because it's going to be a bit strange to explain. Because you can't always explain these things, can you? No. But he's fine, and it was like a month, and he was okay. He healed really quickly, way quicker than I thought. Yeah.
Fantastic.
So things like that, that's really important stuff that you can do with it.
So a lot of day-to-day stuff that you do, like helping people or getting things going in your life correctly, that kind of stuff. You ever done anything big scale before? Like thought, right, I'm going to do something massive now. Like I'm going to say, unleash a load of demons upon ISIS and wipe them, finish them.
Well, that'd be a good one. I was thinking of that. That was one of the main things I was thinking of.
In the war, a lot of the witches, down the coast, Gerald Gardner, they did like a big ritual. A lot of witches got together to try to fight off Hitler. When they were trying to attack Britain, there's a lot of witches there, ones down the New Forest. And they did a ritual to push the Nazis away. And that may have had something to do with repelling the attack. Have you ever thought about doing something like that?
D-Day.
Yeah. Well, actually, it's strange, actually. Because what I tend to do when I write books, if I write a book on like black magic for people, is I always point out that you don't have to, have someone in your life to curse if, you want to practice it. I always direct people towards dictators and serial killers, because the way I look at it, they're fair game. So, it's mostly indirectly. Because I always think, if someone's going to really hex, or curse a serial killer or a dictator, they've asked for it. And the powerful people anyway, a dictator's probably got loads of occult protection. But, I think it's a good thing to do, if we don't know anyone to curse. And let's be honest, a lot of us don't really have enemies we're really bothered about. But, somebody else does, and they're not really nice people, are they? I mean, I don't think any of us would really want to be living under any sort of harsh dictatorship.
No.
No, definitely not.
Help them out,
Yeah. That'd be quite a good idea. That'd be quite a good idea, Rob, to get like a spell together to defeat ISIS, you know what I mean? So loads of people can all read at the same time and all do the spell and see if that will.
Yeah.
All we could do is, like Anonymous have announced they've waged war upon ISIS over the web. So we could do a Mystic Menagerie combined with S-Rob, fight against ISIS on a psychic level.
Yeah, psychic attack.
Yeah. Psychic attack on ISIS. That'd be pretty cool. Is that something you reckon you could work on possibly, or come up with that we could do in another show?
Yeah, I could work on that, yeah. I mean, maybe leave it more open than just for ISIS, just so people could change if they need to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Insert terrorist group here.
Exactly, yeah.
Type thing. I've got loads I could add to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd be burning candles all night at that rate, I think.
Wouldn't it be crazy if, with the help of S. Rob, the Mystic Menagerie brought about world peace?
Well, that'd be it. Yeah, we were, all the three of us were, all four of us, including Nathan, were purely responsible for world peace. That would be something positive to work with, definitely.
We might get Nobel Peace Prizes. We could be like in the Star Wars, where we'll go up there, you know what I mean? They put medals around their neck,
Yeah. I wouldn't be the Wookiee.
Yeah.
Who would you be, Rob?
I'm trying to think, actually. The amount of books I've wrote on sort of dark subjects, I'd probably end up being Darth Sidious or something like that.
Well, you could be Darth Vader, because he did come back from the dark side, but he did come back as a ghost, didn't he? So he kind of thought, well, I was a bit naughty, but I'm all right now, type thing.
Yeah.
So it could be, so the S, Rob, the S could be Skywalker, Rob. We don't know, do we?
We don't know.
Yeah.
But what we're going to do is, because we're kind of quite sort of, early into the interview, and we are going to do a live ritual now on the show, aren't we, S. Rob?
Yeah, that's right.
And if it's okay with you, the actual script for the ritual, we'd like to make available to the listeners, if that's okay. So if they can, they can print off a copy and join in at home.
Yeah.
And what is the ritual potentially going to do?
What it's going to do is it's going to summon not one, but 3 battalions of shadow men. So that means potentially you're talking, 3 times 3 to 500. So we're talking 900 to 1,500 shadow men. Basically, there'll be a lot of them for people to see.
Right.
Because if we just bring one, people don't necessarily always see it. We might not always get the full 1,500, but we'll get some through. So people will be able to see the shadow entities around them, Because I really want people to see it. That's the important thing, But you have to see it and want it to work. Because a lot of this is about will and intent.
So these shadow entities, then, pretty much what the mainstream media would refer to as shadow people.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah? Okay. So, and obviously for those who are a bit sort of apprehensive about summoning thousands of shadow people into their home, what is the potential risk if anyone was, a bit dubious, or not dubious, but apprehensive about doing it?
The most important thing is to finish the the full ceremony.
Okay.
It's not just to do the first part and then say, oh well, I'm not bothered. You have to do the whole lot.
It's like when was it Aleister Crowley at Boleskine House summoned that demon and then didn't close the ritual, didn't he? He kind of went back to London and left some demon rolling around Boleskine House in Scotland. So it's important that we close the ceremony. So
we don't need to close it straight away. You can have a gap for people to so they can see the entities. But as long as we close it,
Okay. And do we need to have any sort of particular sort of setting? Do the lights need to be down, or can we just do it as is?
You can do it as it is. It's probably good to have the lights a little bit low.
Okay.
Because it helps people get in the right state of mind, because sometimes light's a little bright, so it doesn't get people in the right state,
Okay, well, we'll make a start then. So you are the occult master. Me and Freddie are your followers, disciples. So as I understand it, you'll say a sentence and then we'll repeat together. So the listeners at home repeat with Freddie and myself. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, great. So, we'll make a start whenever you're ready.
Okay, and this is how to summon the 3 battalions of shadow men. Leviathan, you have the power to open a gateway to hell itself. You alone have this power.
Leviathan, you have the power to open the gateway to hell itself. You alone have this power.
Leviathan, you are the mouth of hell, hell's mouth, and I ask that you open the gates. Open the mouth of hell to allow travel from and to.
Leviathan, you are the mouth of hell, hell's mouth, and I ask you to open the gates. Open the mouth of hell to allow travel to and from.
Open the gates of hell. Open the gates.
Open the gates of hell. Open the gates.
Open the gates here and now. Let the gates swing open, be open, and stay open.
Open the gates here and now. Let the gates swing open, be open, and stay open.
Leviathan opens the gates.
Leviathan, open the gates.
Shadow men, you who come from hell, I ask that you step through the gates and be seen by all.
Shadow men, you who come from hell, I ask that you step through the gates and be seen by all.
I call the first battalion of shadow men through the gates.
I call the first battalion of shadow men through the gates.
Shadow men march through the gates of hell to this place.
Shadow men march through the gates of hell to this place.
The first battalion of shadow men come through the gates and can be seen by all.
The first battalion of shadow men come through the gates and can be seen by all.
I call upon the second battalion of shadow men.
I call upon the second battalion of shadow men.
O second battalion, come through the gates.
O second battalion, come through the gates.
Second battalion, come through the gates. Come through here and now.
Second battalion, come through the gates. Come through here and now.
Second battalion of shadow men, step through the gates and be seen by us.
The second battalion of shadow men step through the gates and can be seen by us.
I command the third battalion to step through the gates.
I command the third battalion to step through the gates.
Third battalion of shadow men step through the gates of hell to this place.
Third battalion of shadow men step through the gates of hell to this place.
All three battalions of shadow men are here and are here to be seen.
All three battalions of shadow men are here and here to be seen.
Okay. Now we can leave this for a while if you want, so people can get a chance to see the shadow men. Yeah.
Okay. Should we be looking around ourselves now as well?
It's a good idea, and if we see anything, because I can see things moving around, so that's a good sign. So,
what can you see?
To get a response. Yeah. It's just like Flash at the moment. They're not quite people. They're sort of like stretched people shapes, and they're sort of moving around. So, so it is a good sign.
What about you, Freddie?
Right here, so that's good.
Have you got anything at your end, Freddie?
I think I saw something in the corner there, a bit like, like at the end of Close Encounters, the aliens there. How they look with the long arms and everything.
Oh, the long arms, yeah.
Yeah, like one of those, but very dark. But you just flash through very quickly, like run through the room.
Yeah, I've kind of got one. I've got one shadow, but it's not of a summoned thing. It's my skeleton wearing an Iron Man mask, but yeah, I'm going to keep looking. I mean, a bit of the room doesn't really have that much shadow in it, but I'll keep looking as we talk, and I'll let you know if anything crops up.
Well, the budgies are chirping a lot, so I don't know if they've seen anything themselves.
Well, the animals can sense things, can't they?
They can, yeah.
Have you got any animals, any animals, Rob, at your end, like dogs or anything?
No, I don't really have any animals or things like that, really. So no. I used to when I was younger. In fact, there's a really interesting story about that if you want to know.
Go on then, fire away.
Okay, well, when we were young, we bought a dog, one of these like shelters, and everything was pretty normal. But then the dog, much older, much further down the line, the dog died. Now, the strange thing was, on that night, because we were quite young at the time, my mother and father saw the dog walk with a puppy over the top of their blanket, leaving footprints. And then disappeared, and the dog was definitely dead. And those footprints left. Yeah, I got a theory about that, because at first I thought, you're thinking, oh, well, a dead dog, going to the afterlife. And then I thought, but where would the puppy come from? And then I actually, later on, I realised there's like a type of genie, it's in folklore, called a hin. Now, these genies like to take the form of dogs, and I thought, if you think about it, it makes perfect sense, because they're not really beings that have to be physical. So what does it do? A dog lives as a dog. It gets found. It's walking around. It ends up getting found. We look after it. It even grows old, and it grows quite old for a dog, which probably should have told us something. But it grew quite old. And then what happened was, and then obviously it's got pregnant at some point in time. The rabbit actually died as well, actually. So it just, the body went. But I thought, because if they're about the same level of intelligence as an animal, it would want to come back to show you that everything's okay. Because it wouldn't connect that it's supposed to be dead, Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and that's the only explanation I can think that makes sense. Because, it was full muddy footprints on it, and it was dead. You can't really walk along things when you're dead.
No.
People that saw it, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow, that's fantastic. Is that the last pet you had then, was it?
It was, yeah, apart from lots of dead goldfish and things like that, but yeah.
All right. Last mammal that you had. It's been Occult as your full-time work then, Rob? Is that what you do? Is that what you do, write books as your full-time job?
That is what I do, yeah.
Excellent. Do you do anything, like give lectures, or do you do anything, or involved in any groups, something like that?
What I also do, a small amount of readings. I don't really do as many of them as I used to. I can maybe predict the future of people, and also like occult services and stuff like that. But it's actually mainly writing now, because that stuff's got to fit around the writing.
Yeah.
So it's pretty full on all the time. I write every day, so every day it's the next sort of thing on the way, which I like. I prefer to be busy than not to be busy.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
You don't have writers though, innit? You should always sit yourself down and at least do 10 minutes writing a day if you're a writer to get it out your system.
Yeah, get the inspiration there.
Yeah.
To a coven or anything?
Not really. I've always been mostly like a solitary sort of occultic for anything else. Not always, because when you've sort of got family that have done things, you've sort of got your own coven when you need it. You know what I mean? It's sort of different. You don't really need as many outside things. And I'm also very interested in folklore as well, and folk tales, because it's amazing the stuff which is in there which people don't realise. Like the old tale of Rumpelstiltskin. Originally that was called Tom Tit Tot. But what people, I think, miss out on that is the idea, the reason his name is so important is because when you know his name, you can command him. Now, that's the same with many entities. When you know their name, you then have the ability to command them and to do things with them. So there's a lot built into this folklore and these folk tales that people miss.
Yeah, it's a bit like when you know someone down the pub, but you don't know their name. You try to call them over, but if you know their name, you go, "Oi, Dave," and then they know you. So it's like commanding them. It's like getting that friendliness with them, isn't it?
It is, yeah. But like I said, there's a lot in folklore that people miss. I think it's a Russian folktale which has got the idea of basically a magical bat. And you think about it, you think, well, why not? Because normally tools are for direction. But why couldn't the aggression of moving a bat be used in a curse? When you think about it, it makes perfect sense. It makes more sense than most magic wands and things, doesn't it, when you think about it, really?
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
So, folklore, do you research folklore as well? Do you go around to places or places of interest and try to connect with?
I have wrote a book on folklore, which was folklore magic, but it sort of crosses over that much with the occult and the paranormal that you sort of pick that up anyway, And I'm also a member of the Ghost Club, so you get stuff, through there and sightings that people have had, and and all sorts of stuff there. Although I can't really talk about that because we're not allowed to sort of get a contract you have to sign,
Yeah, sure. There's you see quite a lot of stuff goes on there. They don't really want people to know about. I take it.
Yeah, I think it's mainly, to be honest, to stop the soundbite culture, because it's so difficult to protect yourself, as an organisation that they are, from being lampooned, because it's so difficult for them to make sure it didn't come out in the wrong form. Because I can understand how there could be mass panic, because I don't really think there's anything to panic about so much, but I also realise that it's difficult for people to get it, the message out just right.
Yeah, definitely. Have you ever conjured a demon, actually seen the demon in front of you?
I've seen many entities. When I do, I normally put it in the book, So I've seen demons like that. Sometimes you just see them as like a shadow or something moving around. I scared the hell out of somebody once because I was doing something with the 7 African powers. I can't remember which one it was or something. But there was a guy who was in to read the meter or something.
The guy came around to read the meter?
Yes, or whatever it was, or something. And I was doing, because I don't really register like other people do, that this is for certain times of the day.
Yeah.
Because I do this all the time.
Sure.
So this guy comes in, and you could tell he saw something, he just goes like pale. So I just sat him down. I thought, what do you do? How do you explain to a guy that everything he knows about the world is like wrong while he's not completely right? But, people get used to it, and he was okay.
What did he see?
What he saw was a large... I don't know which one. I think it was Obatala of the White Sheet, I think, because I saw quite a few of them.
And what does that look? What does he look like? What would the meter man have seen?
Well, what he saw...
You can describe it to the listeners.
Basically, like a large human-type entity, roughly human shape, white, but with skin that is white, and sometimes slight, like reptilian-type skin. And that's what you see for Obatala of the White Sheet. That's like... It's not always the pictures you see on the internet, but that's what people actually see. Because people don't always want to put exactly what you do actually see. But there's been a few times where people have seen things like that,
And that was in the electricity cupboard?
He was in there because he was just walking around to come in, So when you opened the door, you knocked on the door and opened the door.
Did he accept your explanation, though? Or did he think he was going bonkers? Did he actually accept what you're saying, understand what you're saying? Or did he...
What I think, to be honest, was he just wanted an explanation. So what you do is I gave him the potted version.
Right.
And I think what he'll do is, to be honest, I think he just takes it and push it to one side and, have nothing to do with it. I think he's just wanted something there at that moment in time that was okay. I don't think he was listening that much, but I think he could just say, okay, I can accept that and then move on,
Yeah, so he didn't want to get too involved, but he wanted to make sense of what's going on around him.
Have you got a different meter man now?
We do get various different ones. I don't think it's the guy anymore, but
we'll have a bit of a shadow person check for the listeners. So, are you anything at your end, guys? Are you still seeing the same shadow people, Esra?
Seeing ones. I'm seeing one sort of. I don't know. He seems to be hiding somewhere, but there's nothing to hide behind, so it's like half of one. Which is a bit strange. And a few things moving around.
What about you, Freddie?
It's gone very cold in the room. I can't see that shadow that I did see, but the temperature's dropped dramatically, which I sense, it feels like they're here. You know what I mean? It's that sort of presence. When the temperature drops dramatically, usually there's a spirit or something in the room, and it's gone very cold all of a sudden. It was warm a minute ago, it's gone very cold.
Well, I've got 3 shadows all next to each other, directly beneath my Beetlejuice poster in the room I'm at the moment.
Wow.
Which, can't say I noticed them before, but they're 3, and they're almost like there's a medium-sized one, a shorter one, and then the one on the far right is actually quite a lot taller. So, and I'm looking around to try and find a source of light to see what could be casted in the shadow. And it's a pretty dark day down here in Kent, so there isn't much sunlight at the moment. So I am struggling to wonder where the shadows are being cast from. So,
well, you say 3. That's one from each battalion, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
Rob, will they be different sizes of battalions, or will they all be the same size? Do you reckon?
I think they're the same size. It's just the classification system, isn't it? Like from the Michaelis classification for angels and stuff like that, and demons. So I think what you're talking is just 3 battalions of the same size. With probably slightly different functions, Well,
these are all physically different. So I've got tall, medium, and small. I've got a midget battalion of shadow men, and then I've got obviously the taller ones at the end. But yeah, they're definitely all sort of 3 in a row. I was going to take a picture with my phone.
Yeah, I'll take a picture. Yeah,
yeah.
Well, they're a midget battalion, and we'll put the midgets in a separate battalion.
Ankle biters, the big.
Yeah, because they tripped over them or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, maybe they could have used them. So we're doing, and I was going to ask you a question actually, which is to do with obviously a lot of the rituals revolve around opening the gates to hell and bringing things forth. Most people think obviously most sort of Christian-based people think there's a lot of danger involved in summoning creatures or demons forth from the the hell dimension. What do you what's your sort of reply to something like that?
Well, I do open gateways to other places, but yeah, sometimes I do open gates to hell. But the thing is, I believe that we as humans have to keep commanding these entities. I don't think we can just leave it, and I don't really feel that worshipping them is the right way either. Because if you think about it, some of these entities may have actually been created by us, that we could actually, through our power of thought, created them. But then we've got to think, what if they created us? We could be uncreated. So, we have to keep doing this to maintain our position. Because if you think about it, like dog-headed men, it seems like, if you look back, there was like loads of people saying the Marco Polo, was it so, dog-headed men? And then all of a sudden there isn't any, and you think, well, maybe they were just, at some point, became unimportant. They became so unimportant that they just become unconjured, decreated, destroyed like that. And if that's true, which I think it is, then that could happen to us quite easily, So we've got to stay important to do what we have to do and to conjure these things so that we stay around. Because if we did, I feel we'd just blink out. And when you think about it, there's so much problems that people are saying with the environment and stuff. It would be a perfect way of, destroying the human race, would not be uncreating us, for want of a better word. It would be a great way, really, wouldn't it? Quite simple, to the point,
It would. So in that respect, then, you're using the term hell. There's not so much the sort of the biblical term of hell, but it's just a place where these gods and deities that have been created over the, thousands of years that man has been sort of involved in religion, sort of go to when they're no longer worshipped, in a way. They've been created and they need somewhere to go. And because they're not in the mainstream, they essentially are in this place that we term as hell, but isn't really a hellish place.
Yeah. Well, I believe there's different types of places. So when you're opening the gates to hell, it's like somewhere that resembles that, okay? It's not necessarily the classical idea. And you can also open gateways to multiple places stacked over the top. It's really just a gateway is what we're talking about, really, where they happen to be.
Yeah, because everyone's interpretation of what is heaven and what is hell is completely different, isn't it? I know for a fact that if you was going to send Freddie to hell, there'd be Ed Sheeran playing all the time, and he'd be forced to watch X Factor and I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here all the time.
Breaking Bad, yeah.
Breaking Bad. So that would be his idea of hell. Yet to a high percentage of people nowadays, that would be heaven, wouldn't it? So
yeah.
My idea of heaven would be, I don't know. But it wouldn't involve sitting around on clouds playing harps and talking, about God. It would be something completely different. I think the way you were talking about, obviously, we create these sort of entities and that. Some of them, yeah. I've had I don't know. It's a sort of theory I've always kind of had, but like, say, for example, the pagan gods. Obviously, they were at one point held in high esteem by all of their followers. Then all of a sudden, a new religion comes along and tells them to no longer worship them because you need to worship this instead. So those gods and entities are still there, but they're no longer getting the attention they used to. So it's a bit like someone who was in an 80s band who used to be famous, and now it's like 2015 and no one knows who they are, and they get a bit uppity and they've got a bit of a
do you know who I am,
a chip on the shoulder, don't you know who I am type of thing. So once so now and again they might sort of make themselves known by doing something paranormal, just to say, well, I'm actually still here and I'm gonna scare the shit out of you for a bit, that type of thing. But I don't know, that's a kind of a little theory I've always battered about regarding gods and demons. Would you? So that's sort of your sort of same stance?
Yeah, I think they're very good to command because they're not as worshipped as they were, and so you've got, because when you worship something, you give it power. And if you're not really, when you command something, it's a different type of relationship. And you can change the entity to some extent, which means that you can then get what you want. Because I think it can be quite a dangerous thing to always worship. Don't get me wrong, the books I write are for people who believe, don't believe, people with religions, without religions. But sometimes I think you're better off commanding than worshipping if you really want magical results. Because otherwise you're sort of hoping that something occurs. when you're commanding it, you've got more power. You're making it happen.
So your books are essentially a bit like employing the unemployed. You're giving them a job, and because of that, they're thankful for that, and you achieve what you want.
Yeah, it's like retraining for gods.
It's like a back to work scheme.
Yeah.
Back to work scheme
Exactly,
for gods.
yeah, back to work scheme, yeah. Get them all back working again. Yeah.
I'm going through your books, and this, to me, looks like the perfect one for Christmas, which is obviously on the horizon, and that is Drink Your Way to Good Fortune.
Yeah, I always thought that was a great book because it manages people to fit the occult in who don't really think much about the occult, because you can buy that book, not be interested in the occult at all, and yet fit it into your life. It's so easy because you don't even need to put time to one side because, all you need is something to drink. I mean, people drink, we all drink coffee or tea or...
So it's not just alcohol?
No, you can use anything.
Oh, okay. I kind of, because there's two glasses of champagne on the cover, I thought you could get sort of a little tipsy and also strike some good fortune as well. So what sort of ritual does that... Do you have to drink as part of the ritual then?
You do drink as part of the ritual, yeah. It actually comes from very old toasting rituals because toasts originally weren't just, people saying things. They were actually to get results. So it only needs moving around to make it into real magic because that's being lost. The real magic basis was lost. So it's really just a way of restoring it back, to the idea of drinking in cheese and all this. It's just a matter of bringing it back to drinking the way it was a long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah. So Oliver Reed would have been great at that, wouldn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, he would have been casting spells all day long.
He'd have been very powerful.
Yeah.
Probably the most powerful drink magician in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I can remember anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, the stuff. I mean, have you ever sort of thought of doing like courses or teaching people, or is it just writing books that you want to do? Really,
I don't really have that many plans. It's just that I always have so many books to write that it just ends up being the books because I got that many.
What one are you working on at the moment? What is there something you've got in the pipeline?
I'm actually working on one with Shadowmen, which is why I did that one there.
Okay.
So that's probably one going from me, and the publisher will probably I'll either do something slightly different for that part of the book, or you'll probably just put the same thing out. So that will probably be the first part of the book on commanding shadow beings. I don't know what it's called yet, but
okay. But it's important. Any listeners who actually did the ritual with us, if they do see anything, they need to contact us either via email or Facebook and let us know what you saw. I think Freddie put it as a bit like when Uri Geller used to do his live events on TV to get watchers working. Ain't that right, Freddie? Yeah,
exactly. So, did your watch stop or did the spoon bend? You know what I mean? So, did you see a shadow person? Same kind of thing. So, we want to make it as interactive with the listeners as we can because, it's an experience. To see a shadow person is a great experience, and with Rob's expertise here, it's the same thing like Uri Geller. It's a big event. People look at home and say, "Oh, my watch stopped," or the spoon bent, and the strange things happen. So, we're hoping that some strange things will happen while you listen to the show. And that you can sort of let us know on our Facebook page or via Twitter what you saw. And if you take pictures, that'd be better. So, so we can let us all know what's gone on.
Mm. I think on the last show, Nathan had a really good shadow person story, and it was regarding, and his theory was that this shadow person was almost like a moderator who would patrol and go to people who were dabbling with the occult to kind of almost sort of test them or to sort of see what they're up to. So obviously, other than the shadow people that you're able to summon, S-Rock, do you think there are just ones that wander the earth, essentially doing a job like that?
What I really think when I think of shadow beings, although people tend to label them demons or this, what I really think is the idea of the genies. Because when you think about it, there's supposed to be many types of genies. There's 3 in the Quran. But there's loads of different ones in folklore across the Middle East and things like this. And you get the same things mentioned in Europe. Like there's one called the Leshi, which is in Russia, and also the same things mentioned in Wales, but it's also in Afghanistan and Somalia as well. And that's a long distance. So obviously, I don't really feel that a tale, that is not the same tale, that these entities could be made up in different places because it's so far away. To be in Wales, Russia, Afghanistan and Somalia is a hell of a distance, isn't it, really? When
it is, yeah.
Yeah. So what I'm really thinking of is that they have, some are good, some are bad, like the genies, A lot of them are bad, but they have the capability to choose to an extent. So although we can command them, you'll get some that will choose to be good people or do this. So what you're really talking about, I feel, is like a different civilization, So you'll have ones with different functions like us, who do different things. And absolutely, I don't really feel there's just one type doing one job. There'll be many types doing many jobs.
So good ones and bad ones, you know what I mean? So they're all different. It's like a whole department, it's like a whole company of demons, and they'll all got different departments. Some are good, some are bad, some are, is there some demons that are good at everything? I mean, you get some that are specifically say you want to conjure money or you want to send bad vibes to somebody. There's specific ones that are good for the job. Is there like a jack of all trades one that people could summon?
A good way to do that, if you've got the nerve, if you want like a jack of all trades, is simply to be very careful that you say exactly the right words and summon as many demons as you can. Right. I mean, it takes a lot. I know, because it's the opposite of what people say. It's rather the reason why I did this here today, because people can then see that you don't just have to summon one entity or one demon. You can summon a lot. Because the only reason people have problems is if they think they do. It's like, it's sort of like, I feel sometimes it is with, like karma. It really exists if you think it exists. It affects people if they think it's there. Actual fact, a lot of the time is to, summon as many of them as you can, but you've got to hold your nerve if you're summoning them all by individual name and you're going through Leviathan and Lucifer, and you're going through Beelzebub and all the different, because there's loads of different ones with different traditions.
Of course, yeah.
So the three battalions that we've summoned now, are they just basically hanging around waiting to be given further instruction if you wanted to?
Yeah, but I think you've got to be careful how you do that, because it's got to be just right what instructions you give, yeah? And at the moment, we'll just summon them just to be seen, just to be there. And people, say somebody doesn't see them, you can repeat this exercise, and do it like that. Because sometimes some people may need a couple of times. A lot of people will get it straight away. And you can also feel it, like, in terms of temperature change. It's cold where I am. It's really cold. It was cold before, but it's colder now.
Yeah, same here.
And sometimes, like, also contact. People sometimes even feel things touching them. And that's a good thing as well that you've got. But it's basically today just for people just to see them, just to get an idea that they're there, and to learn that these things aren't always to be scared of, because, let's be honest, the first time most people see a shadow entity, we haven't summoned it. I saw one when I was a child, and I was really young, and it scared the hell out of me.
I saw one at the Isle of Wight when I was a kid, a shadow person lurking around in like this open plan sort of apartment we were stopping in, and it was definitely there. The black, solid black sort of shape moving around, it scared the hell out of me. Which is why I've always, me and Freddie have spoken about it in the past. I've always found the Isle of Wight to be quite a spooky place in terms of paranormal. The draw of the paranormal, I think.
It's known for it, isn't it? If you go there, same place with like a tourist resort where they're all selling books about ghosts and hauntings and stuff like that. I suppose most local towns have a book, but there's loads of stuff, DVDs and all sorts of stuff about the ghosts on the island. It's quite prides itself on it.
So then what we should do, shall we actually send the 3 battalions of Shadow Men back? So just in the last few minutes of the show, we can see if it actually warms up at Freddie's place.
Yes.
Okay. We'll do that now, yeah?
Okay. So as before then, you take the lead and Freddie and I will follow together.
I command the 1st Battalion of Shadow Men to walk back through the gates. Go from this place back to hell.
I command the 1st Battalion of Shadow Men to walk back through the gates. Go from this place back to hell.
The 1st Battalion walks through the gates.
The
battalion walk through the gates.
I command the 2nd Battalion to step through the gates, walk back from this place, through the gateway back to hell.
I command the 2nd Battalion to step back through the gates, walk from this place, through the gateway back to hell.
The 2nd Battalion walks back through the gates.
The 2nd Battalion walks back through the gates.
3rd Battalion, I command you to go back through the gateway to hell.
3rd Battalion, I command you to go back through the gateway back to hell.
The 3rd Battalion walks back through the gates.
The 3rd Battalion walks back through the gates.
Leviathan, you have the power to close the gates of hell, and this I ask of you now.
Leviathan, you have the power to close the gates of hell, and this I ask of you now.
Leviathan, close your mouth, mouth of hell.
Leviathan, close your mouth, the mouth of hell.
Close the gateway to hell.
Close the gateway to hell.
The gateway closes here and now.
The gateway closes here and now.
So it is and will be.
So it is and will be.
Well, I actually do feel warmer straight away.
Same here, yeah. It's like someone's put the heating on. The coldness that was here is gone.
Yeah, I feel a great weight has been lifted from my shoulders.
The shadow men have now left the building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very
I can feel their presence.
Yeah, it's amazing. You do feel different. You feel more sort of, I don't know, optimistic. Don't you really know?
Yeah. It's a gloomy feeling, isn't there, Willem? It's like someone's watching you and they're not particularly, I'd say they were bad intentions, but it just feels a bit uneasy.
Yeah, well, it's because they're so different from us, isn't it, really? Because they're so different. And I think the fact that people can sense them is a good thing. It's good to know what these things are like.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
It's like having aliens around your house. You think, well, they're okay, but I'm not sure about them. I don't know what they are, That's
exactly,
like,
yeah.
So it's like when you've done a seance and you do the whole, you finish the seance, you've had the spirit and it leaves. So there's a kind of not a feeling of relief, but almost like a release of emotion or pressure.
Yeah, their energy. You know what I mean? Energy feels different, a bit more lighter, I suppose.
That's it. Yeah.
Do you ever go to a seance, Rob? Have you ever been to a seance before?
Yeah, I've done things like that. I mean, like I said, normally I always did these things internal. I suppose the things that I got like warnings that other people don't get. So because my grandmother was an occultist, she always said, you don't just walk into a coven. That was what she said.
Yeah.
You don't just walk in and say, oh, hello, I know about the occult. She always warned us about that. So, I'm actually very cautious of that because you don't really know what people do. And some of the things that people do aren't really the necessary things you want to get involved in, So I'm always sort of someone who's like, around the edges. I'm more sort of, to set things up or people that I know and do it like that rather than to sort of get involved in some big coven. So,
yeah.
I like to know people first,
Definitely, yeah. Have you got a lot of friends that are into the same sort of stuff? Do your friends that share the same interests, or are they sort of saying, oh, Rob's into that, we don't want to talk about it?
It's sort of a combination of the two, Some people do the same thing, but it's mostly people that, like I said, most people who it's part of their life rather than the major part, And some people have things which, part of their life, which you even think would clash, But but it's a combination of things because in the end of the day, I try to make people understand that the occult really, it's a subject, but it's not meant to divide people.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just, even if you're not into it, it's fine.
Exactly. Have you got friends or people that you know that are scared of you because of it, or they're a bit wary because they know you're into this?
I don't really think it happens as much as it used to. When you're young, it does.
Yeah.
Because when you're young, you can do that. But the thing was that actually, when I was younger, I was quite different, although I did this stuff. Because for a while, I was actually a children's entertainer. So I can use that as a buffer. I mean, I didn't do it very long. Because you see, my brother was an escape artist. So when your brother's an escape artist, you're sort of, you're sort of around this stuff. But I suppose the thing was really, it's a buffer zone. And I think on a psychological level, I knew that you can use it as a buffer, because you don't have to do it very long, and it breaks the tension on the ice. I mean, I haven't done it for a very, very, very long time. It's not really what I do. I understand why.
Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why. I mean, I do understand why my brother went into escapes and magic and that type of stuff, because it was really an act of rebellion. And I understand, because I remember the look on my grandmother's face when he said he was going to join the magic circle. It was wonderful. It was. It was almost like, like a breakdown right there. It was a great way of rebelling, because it's one of the taboos. If you've got a family that are sort of in the occult, one of the traditional taboos was that, you don't do this other side of stuff. In actual fact, I always liked the other side of stuff, the sort of like the entertainment stuff, because I always saw and knew that it was for a different reason.
So you were a children's magician, were you?
I was, yeah. I did do some other things. I was on TV when I was younger only once, bending a mirror. But it was sort of like, because when your brother does something, you end up doing it well if you're younger sometimes, because you're around it. And I also realised then, again, it's a way of breaking the ice. Because the thing is, at that time, when I was a kid, I realised it was tricky. Where if you've done something like that, no one would even believe it. So you've got like plausible deniability, So it's sort of, that's what it was the other way around, But yeah, it was only for a very short amount of time. I don't do it now.
What TV show was you on then? Was you on TV then when you were younger?
It was only one of these like kids' TV programs, and the ones where they have kids and the auditions and they do that. It was like, what the hell was it?
Like Tiswas or something.
Yeah, it was like, you're going on TV or something like this.
Oh, Why Don't You, was it? Something like that? Yeah.
It was something about, it was like a talent show for kids, and something about people having to do it on TV. It was a lot of years back. It was a long time, And I mean, I also tried ventriloquism as well for a while. I did different things,
Excellent.
Have you got like a sort of, earlier on you said like you would get maybe fans requesting stuff or certain things like for certain subjects for books. Have you got like a sort of a fan base then who you're in regular contact with? A group of I don't know. I suppose disciples, for want of a better word, who are learning your skills.
I actually do have the World Magic Movement, which I founded, but it's just an online group. It's not meant to have like a church or anything. You don't have to turn up to anything at all. It's normally people who have bought one of my books, and by magic, it's with a CK, just to separate it off from the performance stuff, from like the sort of Paul Daniels type stuff, separate it off that it's occult magic. But the World Magic Movement is open to anyone who has done any type of magic, and that includes yoga, because you're moving around magic energy. So there's absolutely no distinction between the occult or New Age. It's for everybody,
Yes.
So if you are someone who's into very light magic, that's fine. If you're a Satanist, that's fine as too, because it's not about judgment. Okay? I mean, we sort of have this, because I said once I don't want to make a rule for people. So I thought I made this thing, which I thought was the least rule you can have. And that was to try and do what you think is right most of the time. And I think that's about sums it up. Because you can only do what you think is right, can't you? What you think is right.
Yeah.
Do what thou wilt.
Yeah, but you can only try to do what you think is right, can't you? At the end of the day, you can only try.
Exactly.
And when you get people to do what they think is right all the time, well, then you've sort of got fanatics, haven't you, really? So, although it sounds a strange thing to say, try to do what you think is right most of the time. I actually believe if everyone did that, I don't think there'd be any wars or anything.
No.
I think we'd be fine, we'd all be great, there'd be no problems.
But we're doing the right thing, or what they feel in their heart, rather than following, people follow other things, follow it as a religion or whatever, they follow what they're told to rather than what it's coming from inside.
That's it. If we were all responsible to each other rather than feeling you were responsible to a certain God, we would all live a much better and more honest life. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you've got to be able to look yourself in the mirror at the end of the day and say, well, I did what I thought was right. Because that's the important thing, like I said. I'm not really ones for, a list of rules, because they never work. There's always times when they're not right. And I actually am a believer in people. I'm not one of these people that want to replace people. I am a believer in people that people can make the right choice, And if you make the wrong choice all the time, then you can make the choice to ask somebody else and get some advice, you know. We've all got that. Yeah. You know, I don't think people need lists of rules. I just think people then end up fighting with the rules then. And that's not really the sort of thing to do.
Yeah. So what Crowley was saying, well, he wasn't able to do what he feels right.
Yeah, was it do what thou wilt for something?
Do what thou wilt. Yeah, show the whole of the law,
Yeah, which is exactly the same thing, you know, do exactly what you think is right to the way you live your life, I suppose. Yeah. And he isn't saying do what you want regardless of how anyone else feels. Is literally just saying, you know, do what you... That relies on your own personal nature then, as opposed to any belief system you've got. If you're a nice person and you've been told to do what you want, then you're going to do nice things. You know, but there are naturally unpleasant people out there who obviously will do what they want regardless, and those things might be bad, but they've not been driven to it by a desire to go to heaven and be given 100 virgins or whatever. They've done it off their own back.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, right, well, I think now what we're going to do, we'd like to thank you, Rob, for taking the time out today and talking to us. It's been an eye-opening experience, and it's shed some light on the mystery of S. Rob and his, you know, and your work.
Okay, thanks a lot. Yeah, it's been great to be here. And
maybe, you know, we get you back on the show in the future. Maybe, you know, I don't know, maybe near Christmas, you may want to come back and give us or make a spell up for people to have I don't know, summon something for to ensure they have a good Christmas or something along those lines. Almost like a magical gift.
Yeah, great idea. Yeah, I'm willing to do that. Yeah, I'd love to do that.
Brilliant. Excellent, S. Rob. And of course, your books are all available on Amazon, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, you've got to plug yourself, Rob.
Yeah, they're all available on Amazon.
Yeah.
So that's S. Rob. You put that in Amazon and then click on the author page, or you can go to my website, www.srob.co.uk. And there's other sites, but you can get those from the front page, my other sites and things from there.
I think if you just go on Google and type in S space Rob, the first page is all your hits. You know,
it is there.
Straight away, it's Amazon, then it's got srob.co.uk. There's the Facebook, and then spellcaster-psychic.co.uk. So you're very easy to find, and your books as well are very reasonably priced as well. You know, this knowledge doesn't come at a huge price for those who want to dabble.
Yeah, well, I don't really believe in the way some people do, where they want to put prices really high, and then we don't sell many books. You know, to me, what I do will help people if people read it, but you've got to get them to read it first, you know.
Of course.
Yeah.
And obviously I've got to make a living, but, you know, I actually feel that, you know, you want to put it at a price which is reasonable for people, you know, because actually it works out better, because what happens is they buy a book and they say, this is great, and then they buy all of them.
Exactly. And when there's 101 of them, you can really coin it, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wonderful.
It's the same with emails. If anyone emails me who's a fan, I always reply, you know.
Excellent.
Okay, and if any listeners to the show have any comments or want to get in touch with S. Rob, just either drop us a line or contact him directly, and I'm sure he'll be pleased to hear from you.
Excellent.
Wonderful. Well, thanks again, S. Rob, and thanks for taking the time out, and we'll speak to you soon.
Yeah, keep up the great work, Rob.
I'm going to make a deal with you. A friend of mine owns a place in the Highlands, an artist retreat. It's going to be empty all month. Look, I've seen people recover from this, but never by ignoring the problem. You go down that road, well, it's not a good road.
Hello Hello and welcome back to the Mystic Menagerie podcast. So if you like unique and thought-provoking horror, then you're in for a real treat at the moment. I'd like to welcome to the show two of the hardest working creative people I know, and that's Lawrie Brewster and Sarah Daly. Lawrie is a producer and award-winning director. His critically acclaimed feature film Lord of Tears featured at several international film festivals, and his partner in crime Sarah is a recording artist better known as Metaphorist and a screenwriter whose work has been performed by none other than Gary Oldman, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Anne Hathaway and Channing Tatum. So they're joining us today to talk about their new horror film project, The Unkindness of Ravens. So welcome, Lawrie and Sarah.
Hey, hi.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. How's it going?
Your introduction is a lot nicer than the introduction my mother would normally give me to new people.
I try my best.
My mother would normally introduce me as, and here's my hang. Yeah. Here's my thing. Yes, that's the translation for that.
Like unlocking you from the attic room.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we've all been there at some point.
We have.
I was shunned because of my long hair and acne, so I was mistaken for a girl most of the time as well, so I was a bit of an embarrassment. So, yeah. And then, well, look at me now. That's what I say.
I know.
Show them.
I still often get mistaken for a girl. I still have long hair, and the beard doesn't put them off either, you know.
Well, there's plenty of bearded ladies about nowadays.
Eurovision Song Contest, you know what I mean?
Definitely. So you're here to tell us all about your new Kickstarter project, The Unkindness of Ravens. And so how's it going at the moment? And can you just tell us a bit about the story and the film itself?
Right, well, The Unkindness of Ravens is a film we've been really passionate to make, and it's really because we love the idea of bringing ancient mythologies and ancient religions and the ideas from all kinds of cultures into modern, gritty stories. I guess a filmmaker that I would maybe compare to with that kind of idea or ideology is a bit like maybe Ben Wheatley with Kill List.
Yep.
You know? And so with Unkindness of Ravens, we were trying to think, right, how can we combine this ancient kind of occult aspect and these interesting entities that can draw from like Norse and some Celtic and even mythology from ancient Carthage, you know, the Punic stuff.
Yeah.
I'm saying this as a bit of a nerd. I mean, I was a student of ancient history at St Andrews University when I was a mega geek for all this.
We're all nerds and mega geeks. That's what, that's what makes us cool.
So you have this side, right, which is like, I guess you could say our mythos and lore, which me and Sarah are massively passionate about having in our films. But then you also need this, you know, this contemporary, direct kind of drama with modern characters that you care about, that you get engaged with.
Yeah, it's important for us to have the really rich mythos and backstory, but at the same time we also want to have it anchored by like a really strong character who's, you know, it doesn't feel like the story is telling them but the other way around.
Yeah, so like as an audience, you know, there'll be a lot of our audience that would maybe watch the film and they would see the drama and the horror that unfolds. And Sarah has always had a massive interest in all things dark and perverse, you know.
Who hasn't these days?
How we found each other.
I mean, when I watched the trailer for the film, it definitely had two things that are sort of very close to my heart at the moment, and that is I've got a raven which I have that lives in a willow tree outside my house, which I've started to semi-train, and I sort of feed it scraps of fruit. So I'm trying to train it up because I don't like cats, and I've heard that they attack cats, so I'm quite.
So keep the cats at bay.
Yeah, it's actually working. So so I've got this raven that I'm training, and obviously I've also had sort of issues with post-traumatic stress disorder in the past as well. So you know, as soon as I saw the trailer, I kind of definitely felt a connection with it.
You know, we were saying that we have this, you know, this kind of rich mythos and lore background to the film that people who are interested in that, like we are, can see more of, you know, within the normal narrative.
Yeah.
So that people watching the film, they'll get the story, they'll get the thriller aspect, you know, but that we just love to have a deeper level for people who have that interest, so they can almost see beyond what folks might ordinarily see, and catch the references and get this wider background picture. And plus, we also like the idea of people being able to draw more from the film on repeated viewings. Like, they can just keep discovering layers of influences that we actually, when we write for the film, comprises of like a lot of research documentation. Like, we'll write fake histories about everything, as if they really exist, whatever entities that we're creating based on those inspirations. You're saying about the post-traumatic stress disorder. Yeah, I mean, this forms the narrative of the film, following this man that's coming to terms with a horrifying event that took place during his military service in Afghanistan, from an incident involving the titular Ravens. And one of the exciting and terrifying things about our film is that as our character is trying to come to terms with this in a little artist's retreat, this lonely cottage in the Scottish Highlands is surrounded by mist. That is where, of all his next door neighbours that he should have, and unkindness, or as they are known, of ravens, become his next door neighbours. And how they manifest in his mind, or perhaps more literally in a supernatural form, because interpretations are open both ways, just become more intense and terrifying. And to be honest, guys, even we're scared of where it goes at the ending. We think that maybe we've created a really, really freaky psychological horror movie.
With the sort of themes and topics that we're talking about, you really can't pull your punches. It would be doing a disservice to the subject matter. So we really went there.
And I mean, before the film, as a film guy, I did a set of video workshops for military veterans at the military hospital in Scotland who suffer from PTSD. That was to help them with training so they could use cameras and help each other to record their experiences as part of their therapy. And it was during that time that I was, as you can imagine, anyone would be profoundly affected by their stories and by their humanity, and also just by the stories of how, in their youth, because so many of them were young, though it can affect, folks of all ages, but just so unprepared. And so we thought, well, we have to tell their story, but because we have this kind of this perspective, this you could say spiritual, religious, mythological aspect to our culture and being, that we wanted to personify that story through that. So it's a very serious film. It draws its influences from the PTSD veterans, and it's a tribute in that respect to them as well. But it's told through all these veils of ancient influences. Yeah,
I mean, we never like to be bound by the sort of rules of normal drama. We just find it a lot more interesting to be able to explore all aspects of what are and could be.
Oh, sure, because normally, if you were to make a drama about PTSD, that's exactly what it would be. You might have like a BBC Two drama that's keeping things very real. But for those who suffer from PTSD or other kinds of, well, we all suffer from various mental conditions, I'm sure. How horrors of certain types or fears or phobias can manifest can't be literally represented in a normal BBC Two drama.
I think the only one I can ever remember that was vaguely along those lines was Tumbledown, which was about the Falklands War with Colin Firth, that was it.
Is it Hugh Grant, maybe?
Yeah, no, it was Colin Firth who was in Tumbledown, I think. And I think that was sort of about the aftermath of the Falklands War and how it affected a paratrooper. That's the only thing I can ever remember that the BBC have ever done on the subject. Because as you say, it is one of those subjects that is drastically different from patient to patient. And it's very difficult to portray from a filmmaking point of view as well, because it's such a bizarre experience. The only thing I've ever been, likened it to is like when it comes on, is almost like the scene on Jaws where the policeman sat on the beach and he sees the young lad getting attacked by the shark, and the camera pans out, and you get all that sort of strange, distorted vision of, the background fading away and adrenaline rushes and all sorts of strange things. And I think obviously in the trailer there's the bit about the avoidance factor, isn't it? So she says you shouldn't avoid these things, you should confront them, essentially.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we see her character like trying to take away anything that reminds himself of ravens or crows or anything like that. But then it's when he starts to try and confront these things piece by piece that you could say either the condition or something much darker or manifests itself. And so that the film becomes this confrontation, as he's fighting to try and learn how to, not to cure the condition, because you can't. You manage it. You know what I mean? That's all he's looking for, is a way to just try and manage his life. But the odds that we steep against him, based on what happened to him in Afghanistan, which, guys, bloomin' heck, you might not like ravens as much. So we do love ravens, but it's incredible. And when you watch it, it's almost like, it almost reminds me of it's like a Viking saga almost, although it's gritty and it's contemporary. This one guy against such incredible odds that mount so high against him, like a tsunami coming at him. And you think, there's no way he's going to beat this, like this, whatever this is. And that's what it can feel like for those folks, I think. That suffer from PTSD. But, this guy braves on, and it's one hell of a ride with him.
Yeah, it's a bit Dante's Inferno, I guess. It's like a man's journey into his own hell, really. Yeah, and that hell becomes quite a hell, as the film goes on.
But, again, though, for all it's it's very, it's intense, visual, and it's rich, it's still a classic psychological, horror film where you get to, you're constantly thinking, right, what is this? Could this be that? Or could this be this? We love to have that enigmatic mystery kind of quality.
Yeah.
I love enigmas and mysteries.
I think that's one thing that's lacking in a lot of horror films these days, the mystery factor, the thing that keeps you thinking. Everything nowadays has been so much... it's so much more graphic and in your face. It leaves you not having to think about anything, essentially.
There's no suspense in, you see something like Saw, in the first 10 minutes you see something very gruesome and very horrific, and after that, what's there left to frighten you or scare you? You've seen it. You've seen the worst, so it can't get any worse. Whereas something that builds up a suspense, that is lacking. The feeling, the intensity, I think, of something could happen is more scary than actually happening, is what I feel.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Dread and the insidious quality of our fears. That's the spine-tingling nerve that, at least for me, as a filmmaker and as an audience member, it gets me the most excited. I want to sit there tingling in the dark thinking, oh my goodness, what is happening? What is coming next? Yeah,
we always like to have this sort of the central mystery that you find more in horror literature really than in horror films. These kind of small stories that always have this creeping dread and a question that keeps you, turning the page.
I think for a lot, I experienced this, I think others will as well, it's almost a sickening feeling of dread. It's an exciting feeling, but it's one of those films that it will get under your skin.
It's an experience.
Yeah.
I remember when I watched Jacob's Ladder for the first time, that was drastically different to anything I'd ever seen before, because it's got the elements of a war film, yet it keeps morphing out back into what you think is post-war, and how he's dealing with it, yet all the way through things start happening where you're thinking, well, hold on a minute, because it just keeps flicking backwards and forwards. And that was really probably one of the first films I actually went out and bought on VHS video, and I showed it to my friends, and they were like, "It's a bloody art movie," and I was like, "It's not an art movie. It's a modern horror. It gets the brain. They were watching Friday the 13th, and I'm watching things like Jacob's Ladder, and so I can see sort of a parallel there in that respect."
Yeah. Well, Jacob's Ladder is an incredible film, and I guess you could say in some respects that this is a bit like a British Jacob's Ladder, but from our own kind of cultural kind of history and mythos. If that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it's more rural.
Yeah.
Well, the setting for it is beautiful. That is my ideal environment. if my wife wasn't so sort of, obviously she's South African, so she loves the heat and the sunshine. If I was a lonely single man, I'd be living in that cottage with my, coming outside in my underpants, shaking my fist at aeroplanes flying over, and probably having a selection of cats hanging off a barbed wire fence outside. So,
oh, God.
It's just as well that I'm married, because I'd probably be arrested by now.
I mean, that's one of the greatest aspects about the folk horror genre, is that you have these pastoral locations. It's a representation of the kind of innocence we might associate with nature, but the elements that we bring into it show these darker, more insidious qualities kind of permeating the soil and affecting people.
Yeah, the location was totally perfect for that. And we actually all, like when we shot it, we all stayed in that same cottage. So it was pretty claustrophobic and intense.
The Evil Dead, but with the actual film crew there.
Yeah,
pretty much.
But location is very important of a film, with the atmosphere. It's like things like The Evil Dead or like The Wicker Man. It's because the location itself has got a creepiness about it. That's what makes it more immersive. You're out of the real world. You're into some very strange environment, which a lot of people will be familiar with.
Totally, and it's funny. I mean, even The Evil Dead is an influence on us as well. I would say there's an aspect of that because it's in a cottage and it's a very claustrophobic kind of one man surviving in that.
There's kind of a siege element.
Yeah, maybe like the kind of the most elevated attempt. A thinking man's evil. A thinking man's evil.
How long were we actually filming for in the cottage? How long were you up there for?
Oh, about 3 weeks?
Yeah, we filmed for about 3 weeks in the cottage, and then there was a whole other raft of filming much later that we did for the more basically otherworldly scenes.
Yeah, totally.
And that was all due to your effects wizardry, was that, Lawrie? Or the scenes, obviously you didn't go to Afghanistan to film the war scenes, but from what I can see from the trailer, they look authentic.
Thanks, man.
Cool.
I mean, we've worked really hard to try and make the effects really good. I mean, we've got a combination of practical effects, so that's like makeup and gooey bags and things, and then there's the CGI, which we've used in a very tasteful manner. So, for example, say if we want to make a landscape a little wider, we'll use it like that, but you won't see like 3D monsters, right? It's nothing like that. Like all that stuff's got to be physical and real. Whereas the CGI is like more kind of like used kind of for environmentals,
just to give the film a more epic quality on our not so epic budget.
But basically, almost like how like in movies like Ben-Hur and stuff like that, they would have created big paintings as backdrops. That's kind of how we use CGI sometimes.
Excellent.
We change the skyline, or we're painting a mountain here, stuff like that.
For background rather than
I guess we're just really passionate about the kind of practical effects and having real costumes, and you want to feel it. It's like when you try and create these kind of entities and things, there's a wonderful feeling having it as something you can touch on the set, because it feels like you really are bringing life into this kind of strange deity or thing. Whereas if it's on a hard drive and that's it, it's like, no, that's like a bad dude that you kill in a computer game, It
was just sorry for actors who have to just act against nothing, just imagine that they're being attacked or whatever.
Totally. And our actor Jamie Scott Gordon, I mean, he was working with the veterans as well, talking to them and getting a sense of their experiences to draw on from his performance. But then he also went and stayed for a couple of weeks in the forest that night with just his own survival kit. So that he could, I know, it's mad.
Character.
Yeah.
A bit like First Blood. Rambo First Blood.
Totally Rambo.
He's a very, very committed kind of method type actor. And he's not pompous to speak to. He's a really affable, jokey kind of guy. But when it comes to drama, the idea of creating that sense of authenticity, especially for a character like this, it's drawing on such powerful and important, subject matter. Yeah. He was like, no way, I need to live like this guy and be alone. So there he was with his little tent and backpack, wandering off and we just kept thinking he was going to die, but he survived.
Didn't get attacked by a werewolf or anything, so all good.
No, we could have made a whole other film if he had, though.
Yeah, totally. I found footage film if he took his cell phone with him.
Yeah.
You can probably hear in the background as well, because we've got a bit of a bird-themed sort of show.
Yeah.
We've got Freddie's Budgies, so we were talking about maybe the unkindness of Budgies as maybe a follow-up.
Yeah, we can have theory.
It's hard to make them scary, isn't it, Budgies? Though I'd say they're the sort of thing you'd see in like 70s comedy shows, like George and Mildred or Carry On at Your Convenience. They have budgies in those. They're never in a serious horror film. You ever seen a frightening budgie?
No, they're good at predicting the horses.
Yeah, I mean, mine predicted the Eurovision Song Contest winner because he chirped when Terry, the one who passed away this year, chirped when the actual winner sang the song.
Hey. Wow.
A psychic budgie, but they offer. I mean, they like music, so I'll play them different music. I've got a Facebook page where I play music and they rate out of 10 on the chirpometer. So see what they like. So they're all
brilliant.
Frank likes the Doors. He's very into the Doors. Sally doesn't like much apart from the Beach Boys, and that's it. So very, very diverse taste they got there. Yeah. So you could do a budgie that's into death metal. Young kinds of budgies, some satanic budgie.
Satanic like head bashing budgie.
You have to test them out on Grace Jones' Slave to the Rhythm as well, though. And just
they do like Grace Jones, actually, yeah. Because
the only thing that does like Grace Jones.
Yeah, I like Grace. I mean, the last two budgie I tell you passed away. He was in the ZZ Top, and I don't like them. I had to buy a ZZ Top CD for him to listen to. He bobbed his head up and down. You like heavy rock, early ZZ Top. So yeah, I'll try them out. Grace Jones, they did go. He liked it anyway. I think she was very quiet, but the boy went a bit mental. So,
did you have some trained ravens on set? Do you have a raven handler?
Well, we had some of that. You'll see them jumping up and down on people, and so they're quite nice. And then we also had a raven puppet as well. So that we used that for basically for opening and closing its beak and munching up things that you don't want munched on if you're a person.
Yeah.
And then we've filmed ravens as well, flying about in the sky as well. And so the ravens are, obviously they're a massive part of the film and we love them to bits. They're just beautiful birds. They just have such a magic about them. Mm-hmm. And although they're damn scary, they kind of go rogue in this film.
They're so intelligent, and they're a lot bigger than what you think they are, aren't they, once you get up close to them? It's the one in the tree across from, if I look out the window now, he's not there at the moment, but it's actually a female one, but it's she's a real monster, and I'm hoping this time next year she's going to be perched on my shoulder, preferably not pecking my eyes out, but majestically perched.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I would love to have her.
Oh, the best.
So what stage are you at the moment? Is filming completely finished, and is the Kickstarter basically to get the funds together to get the marketing out there, or is there still a bit more to do?
We still have just some more special effects to get completed. So we basically got special effects. We need to record and engineer the sound, get the mix done. And then there is an independent distribution that we also want to put some of the funds towards as well. And the reason for that as well is so that we can design and create the products ourselves and have a direct personal relationship with the people that actually buy our film. And the reason for that is because whilst distributors in the industry have their place, we think that they kind of create a barrier almost between people making movies and people that like buying the movies and actually watching the films. And so, we really love the idea that we can talk to the folks that are supporting our work and be like, hey, did you know? Because, and the folks that actually support our movies, they love it, having such access to us as well. Also, distributors can be a little bit cynical about how the films are put out. You buy your movie and a DVD, and they're thinking about margins and things. Whereas, although we try and make our art sustainable, obviously, but we really want to create something special. So, for example, like with our Kickstarter, we've designed packages for our film that you would never normally get, but we feel makes it kind of special. So, for example, like with Ravens, we've got this. It's really beautifully illustrated design 8-panel fold-out package that has a Blu-ray, a dual-layer DVD, and a CD soundtrack, and it's got not just the movie, but just like loads of stuff that we produced, like interviews and background mythology that talks about the where they come from, the Ravens.
Because for us, it's not just about the film itself; it's about the whole world that you create around it. Like that's what we've always both loved to do, even since we were kids. creating these imaginary worlds and drawing our little maps and whatever.
You did something similar with The Lord of Tears, didn't you? And because I've got the DVD version of that, and that was a fold out. It came with the soundtrack and the extras on there, and that was beautifully packaged, an amazing film. And so it's like obviously you're going down the same route
basically that. It's like that but 3 discs, but it's a DVD size. And we've also just basically for pre-orders we've re-released Lord of Tears. That's going to be in a 3 disc set, DVD size package as well. Because the one that we sold before was a limited edition, so we couldn't sell any more once that was
stops being limited then.
It stops being limited then. So basically these both films now, The Lord of Tears and Unkindness of Ravens, will be these 3-disc 8-panel really nice sets. But the coolest thing, this is the thing I love the most because I'm a nerd for design really, but they have Roman numerals at the spine, and they go together like old tomes. And we hope that with our future films, that folks that dig the kind of stuff we're making, you'd have like just a shelf of tomes.
Build a library, like an ancient dusty library.
Yeah.
So
would you say?
Sorry, you go, Freddie.
So would you say the film was kind of a mixture of The Evil Dead meets Jacob's Ladder with a touch of Hitchcock's The Birds thrown in there? Was that?
Yeah, and there's actual Apocalypse Now as well.
People who read previous issues of Mystic Menagerie before we did the podcast will probably recognise you from the interview we did when you did the Lord of Tears Kickstarter, I think. Do you remember doing that quite a while? It was a few years ago now, wasn't it?
2013?
Yeah.
March, like that.
So, because we actually ran a competition on the magazine, and it was for any, because obviously at the time it was for magicians, for any magician who could come up with a routine with an owl in it, and not one single person entered, which is crazy. It could have anyone could have just said, pick a card, any card. What is it? It's an owl. Yes, they'd have won because it would have been that easy. But yeah, but
I think it's more down to their lack of imagination. I feel.
Well, I think that's there is a sort of a trend there for there isn't much imagination. They're like off the shelf type things, should I say? Right. So we are the creators, I suppose. So
the avant-gardists.
Yeah, so we won't be running another competition with Ravens in it. But there's such a good horror connection with Ravens, obviously, with Edgar Allan Poe and like Freddie said, with Alfred Hitchcock's The Birds.
Paul Raven, of course, he's horrifying. Paul Raven.
He
became Gary Glitter.
Did he? that is a monster and a half.
A monster? What about a load of ravens that turn into Gary Glitter at the end of the film? Maybe that's not you telling us. Maybe that is the horrific finale that you haven't told us about.
That's in the deleted scenes.
Hundreds of Gary Glitters, that can fly after you.
Looking at your eyes.
Yeah.
Gary Glitter's descending. It'd be like that episode of The Goodies when they had loads of Rolf Harris's. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. That would be a horror film. You've got CGI eyebrows, though, of course. The eyebrows going up high. You know what I mean? It's CGI them on.
Huge shoulder pads.
Yeah.
I think, it was kind of weird, but I think like one of the earliest motives we had as well was just to make a movie that had the most kick-ass ravens you've ever seen on screen. I've always loved ravens. I see their faces, I think, oh, what dark millennium intelligence there is going on there, and I thought, let's have something where it's a tribute to the service people with PTSD, but it's also a tribute to ravens, I guess, just our love of these birds, and just the whole mythology associated with them.
They've got that look about them, haven't they? Do you know what I mean? There's almost like if you go somewhere on a misty day and there's a raven there, it's always got that creepy element to it.
Like he's just judging you for your tastiness.
Yeah. And also, I suppose they would be considered to be witches' familiars and stuff like that. They've got that dark look about them, black cat, black raven. It's got that whole vibe about it.
I suppose that's why they've got such a strong connection with mythology. And is it I think you mentioned the Morrigan, the way they're always depicted on battlefields, and there's always the ravens there, feasting on the bodies.
Totally, the Morrigan and Valkyries as well, of course, from Norse mythology, who are supposedly the ones who choose who lives and dies on the battlefield. So that was a big inspiration too. But yeah, once you start delving into Raven mythology, there's tons and tons and tons going back centuries.
Yeah, they're very. I say that there's some creatures, there's some animals that have got that vibe about them, that otherworldly sort of vibe about them.
Yeah, like they know something.
Yeah, there's something more to them. It's like you don't get the same thing from a parrot or. Do you know what I mean? Or a chimpanzee, you couldn't have a horror film with a chimpanzee, but there's something about certain animals that have that look about them, isn't there?
Mm-hmm.
I think as well, there's just this idea that when you have that quality that feels like it's inherent in an animal, that with our film we're thinking that the emotional state of our character, where he ends up going to, can maybe open up his sense of perception so that he can see, so that what he experiences and sees, at least from one interpretation, is what is already there, but that his senses are becoming more attuned to.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that perceptionary.
Yeah, like you get a glimpse into an alternate sort of universe, maybe.
Yeah, like maybe the darker, the more traumatized you are, the more you can see negative aspects. That side of that world becomes more apparent, but also can be more dangerous because you can be more drawn to it or sucked into it.
Definitely, yeah. And a fear of an animal, like fear of ravens, obviously if he's trying to escape from them, he's going to be seeing them more. Do you know what I mean? Because it's on his mind. It's like someone trying to give up smoking, you know what I mean? They'll see cigarettes everywhere. Or you know what I mean? It's like in the 80s, I remember that song came out, Yeah, It's the Only Way It's Up, and I hated it. And every time I go into a pub, it may have been coincidence, but it seemed to come on the jukebox straight away. You know what I mean? And if I turned the TV on, she was on. It seemed to be around me all the time.
Yeah.
So it does seem that if you're thinking about something or consciously saying, "I don't want this around," it becomes more horrifying.
Yeah, thing. Like the universe is testing you.
Whether it's ravens or whether it's Yaz, do you know what I mean? It's there and omnipresent. It seems to be. But if you don't think about something, it goes away. But if it's on your mind, you really
you see it everywhere.
It's everywhere.
I know what you mean though about the fact that in effect what triggers sort of PTSD, and you shouldn't go near it, but the draw to actually see whatever it is that triggers it, if you know what I mean, is always there. Like like Freddie said, like giving up smoking, or I don't know, say if you're a heroin addict or something, there's always the feeling of being drawn to what the trigger is. I mean, I know what sort of triggers it for me, and if that trigger is ever evident, if it's there put in front of me, there's a real strong urge within me to actually look at that thing that I know that's going to trigger it. However, if I know that I look at it, it will fuck me up for, what used to be weeks on end, which would now be sort of days or hours. However, because it's such a out of body feeling, a really bizarre feeling that you can't it's very hard to describe. I'm not that very sort of great with words as it is nowadays, but vocally anyway. But it's such a strange feeling, and you kind of want to feel that feeling, but once you've got it, it's the worst thing in the world, and then you wish you were back where you were. It's strange.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain.
Any feeling can become sort of addictive in a weird way, even if it's in an unhealthy way.
Yeah, I mean, we've tried to do that with our character, that his own pattern of behaviour it's kind of self-destructive, but that's what he's trying to change, And I mean, we can all. I mean, and there's ways we can relate to that. I mean. For example, like you're saying about like your PTSD experiences. I mean, for me, my one is hypochondria. So, for example, I can be a little bit of a hypochondriac, and the thing that I'll sometimes do, which I'm trying not to do now nearly as much, but is if you start obsessing over medical articles online,
self-diagnosing on the on the NHS website.
Yeah. And whenever you start Googling whatever it is, you've got a sore head or a scratched finger, you're basically going to end up with cancer or AIDS.
You're dead.
And then that's it for weeks or a couple. So So that was one way I could play as when I was directing with this, although it's a different kind of condition. The idea that something can give you this horrible sense of anxiety and nervous agitation, that, different, completely, different in that respect, but just some of the feelings being similar, the compulsiveness of the reaction to something. It was like, so I guess there was a very intimate emotional aspect of myself as well.
I mean, it's a downward spiral, essentially, that it's almost as if you're in an aircraft that's spinning and out of control, that you just can't pull out of that spin until you know the trick to pull yourself out. And once you know that trick, then which is different for everybody, once you know that one thing, then great. But it's very difficult for some people to find that thing that pulls them out of the spin.
It's a very taboo subject. It's like you don't see much on TV or films about PTSD. It's like it happened in World War One. There was a lot of stare and stuff like that people get. But it was like mentioned, but people glossed over it. It's a bit like we know it happens, but we don't want to talk about it.
Yeah, I think because it's kind of a messy subject, and people don't like things that are messy. They like things that are clear cut.
Yeah, I think because it's although PTSD can result from all kinds of experiences, at least in the subject of war, its association with politics can complicate people's emotional reactions towards it. So for example, like if someone's anti a particular war, that'll have a different emotional reaction than someone felt that the cult was justified. So for example, one person might believe, well, this person was a victim of something that shouldn't have happened, but another person might feel this person is a victim of a noble cause. Do you know what I mean? But it can still affect
it's irrelevant when it comes to the person who's actually been affected. I mean, that should be the only thing that matters.
It should be, but it does seem to be something that people seem to be very touchy about covering, which is quite a brave thing for you to face this head on in a film.
Yeah, I will say there's some very interesting and controversial aspects to the film that should provoke some interesting discussions afterwards as well. So,
and it's topical as well. What's going on in the world at the moment? It's very topical considering what's going on around the world as well.
Yeah, for sure. As we kind of decide what sort of world we want to live in, not that we individually have much choice, but.
I mean, we know from the film that you guys will get a chance to see soon. It's the kind of film that would just never ever normally be financed or made in a million years. And I guess that's maybe why we're doing the Kickstarter and why we need help from folks as well, with pre-ordering and stuff like that. Just to take that little bit of trust in buying our product, and to support the film getting finished. Because no one would touch a story like that is as unusual or strange or as topical as well. And yet these are the kind of films that I remember growing up, sometimes watching, or retrospectively if they're older than me, thinking, oh, that's amazing. Why isn't there more films like that? And it's just because the market has become more and more safe in the film industry.
Yeah.
And more and more, it's like, it's going to be up to us to kind of roll up our sleeves and actually help support the kind of filmmaking that we want. And that's not just with our films. I mean, likewise, as a producer, I'm trying to help other folks that are making films that excite me as a prospective audience member as well. But we have these subgenres that we love, and they're always often films that we associate from the 70s or the 60s. And we're like, where are they now? And it's like, well, we can make it happen. We can make it happen working together.
Well, they were all the films that came out before politics changed and everything was kind of brushed under the carpet. And I suppose political correctness came in. You look at the films, as you say, from the 60s, 70s and, best part of the 80s. And that's where you've got all the classics and the taboo films and the films that made people stop and think. And you don't really, apart from the independent film industry nowadays, you don't get a lot of that at all. It's all sort of churned out to make money and be forgotten as soon as you've seen it, essentially.
Yeah, they have to be so sanitized and have such global mass appeal that they're basically completely void of content in the end, really.
Yeah, I think for us that's why having a relationship with folks that enjoy our films and trying to build our film company with folks that enjoy our films, it lets us identify the kind of people that really want that kind of filmmaking to happen. Because, when normal film companies take a shotgun approach and spray across a mainstream market, the most sanitized film possible, well, then that's why you get sanitized or unimaginative kind of mainstream entertainment.
Yeah.
But still need groundbreaking directors and writers, and, that's exactly what you two are doing.
Well, but at the same time, though, it's also thanks to the groundbreaking, supporters of our film and the fans, because it's without them, and that's why we try and get them involved, is because we can't work as a team. I mean, we're doing our part, but when folks support us, that's what makes it possible. As a team, it wouldn't be possible without. So we kind of see what we're trying to do is bigger than just our film or us directing or doing that. It's almost a bit like an ideology where culturally we're trying to just tell stories that can affect our culture in a way that brings the past and the idea of imagination and even the idea of, I would say rationalism exactly, but the idea that, relatively speaking, that all these different things still matter, that are drawn from our ancient culture and influences, and that they have a place in our modern culture and our modern storytelling means something.
Yeah, and you want to also just sort of go against or defy that kind of market logic that people just want entertainment, cheap, easy entertainment, because we've seen from the response we've gotten that people are still hungry for these interesting stories and that are a bit different.
And when we tell these old stories as well, we're not telling the same old stories that fans already will know. We're being subversive with contemporary kinds of storytelling. You're bringing the ancient elements into kind of very contemporary types of story as well. So it's obviously bringing it bang up to date, but it's fusing it into the modern culture in a really clever and subversive way.
Yeah, we don't want to just emulate,
exactly.
or make throwbacks to old films. It's about talking about today.
Definitely. I mean, I feel you need more films of substance like that. Like I say, like you mentioned earlier, the rewatchability of it. A film that you can watch again and again and get more from each time. Those sort of films are lacking now.
Yeah, you don't get those films at all nowadays. Really, the main ones you go to see at the cinema. You're lucky if you actually get through the film once and think, gee, thank God for that. There's very rarely a film I'll go back and watch twice, willingly anyway. So when's the actual, and when are I actually looking at a release date for the Unkindness of Ravens?
Well, for folks that are pre-ordering on our Kickstarter, we're going to be releasing the 3-disc set in July. So they'll be getting them posted out then. Okay. And we've got other stuff as well, we've got posters and T-shirts and costumes even from the movie, so people can terrorize their neighbors.
They look excellent. They remind me very much of the Plague Doctor's type of costume, with the beaked the beaked face and the long cloak. They themselves are pretty scary.
So they totally are. Yeah, they totally are. And there's a great historical tradition in cultures around the world of animal anthropomorphic depictions with raven-headed, warriors of all types. So there's been loads to draw on from even Japanese culture to Norse, Celtic, to you name it.
Hieronymus Bosch, of course, there were some heads like that in some of his paintings, weren't there?
Yeah.
The Garden of Earthly Delights.
One of my favourite artists, and I would love to make a film about that chap as well.
Oh, he's amazing, isn't it? I mean, his artwork is so, for the time, it's so out there.
Totally.
Yeah, you really got to admire people who pushed the boundaries back when, it was much more taboo than it is now.
Dan, I think it was yourself that mentioned about drawing more from repeated viewings. Just an observation that with a lot of filmmakers, most film directors, they think very much in the form of the immediate medium that they're working in. That's, the visual experience of what you see in the film. And kind of I suppose what maybe sets us apart a bit is that we see film as a faceted medium. It's like one particular way to experience the story.
Yeah.
So although I'm a passionate filmmaker, I see film as just one way of telling it. I guess that's why we like doing the packages with so much material. Is because we like the idea more of the film as being like a window into a much bigger story, but you can experience through other aspects, package and everything, rather than just that's your 90-minute visual experience. Your story started and ended here. We want our stories to inspire your imagination so that you're actually going away thinking, man, maybe I could get in touch and say, hey, can I do a drawing of this guy, or write a short story, or like these kind of epic mythic kind of settings that folks can draw on.
Yeah, loads of fan fiction rolling in from you're a catalyst for all these other little things that spawn off from it.
Video games, cartoons, sky's the limit, t-shirts,
In terms of the soundtrack, I mean, I love the way that you supply the soundtrack with the film as well. There's so many films I've seen where I've had to dig around for ages to even find elements of the soundtrack. But the fact that the film comes with the soundtrack as well. Are you involved with the soundtrack, Sarah, at all with this one?
No, I'll be performing a few tracks and writing some new songs for it as well. So I'm really excited to do that, because I've been working on the film. I haven't done much music this year, so it's going to be great to get just totally stuck in on that again. I've done the sound design for the film, so I've got a really strong idea of the kind of sound that we're going for, and it's basically going to be a sort of a Wicker Man kind of folky vibe, but strange psychedelic sort of folky.
Wow, sounds good to me.
Yeah, I'm going to be doing some covers of like folk songs. Like there's one called Three Ravens that just kind of luckily fits exactly the theme of the film.
Oh yeah, songs are like from like 1600s, aren't they? 16th century kind of songs, but then bringing them up. A lot of them had like 60s, 70s covers by people like Steel Eye Span, that kind of vibe. So that's the sort of sound we're going to be going for. There'll be some other weirder stuff too, but the folky songs will be kind of the spine of the soundtrack.
Is it going to be available on iTunes as well, anything like that, or just with the DVD?
We haven't really thought of that far ahead, to be honest, but maybe eventually. But right now, I mean, we're all about
if there was a demand for that, then they would certainly do that.
But your music is available on iTunes now, isn't it, Sarah? Under Metaforest, and you're also on you're on Spotify as well, I believe. So
I'm everywhere, Dan.
everywhere. I mean, that's how I actually came across you, because you popped up on my sort of little column on the side of my Facebook thing. You said, if you like Kate Bush, and then it said Metaforest. So I clicked on it, listened to a few tracks, and then bought your album, and that's it. The rest is history. That's how we sort of all know each other in a weird twist of fate.
I know, it's funny, isn't it? Especially in this digital world, how these things come to be.
It is, yeah. It's one of those. I mean, I know you had a few sort of strange twists of fate on set with your, the Unkindness of Ravens, but I think I don't know. Sort of creative people kind of always gravitate towards each other in weird ways, and before you know it, you've all kind of got a little strange network of like minds.
Yeah, I think so, especially in this sort of little niche of the world of the kind of stranger horror.
So, I think it's important as well that people of that like-mindedness work together and collaborate as well, because, I mean, we have a purpose that goes beyond just our works as well. We can kind of affect positively, the culture and shape of things as well.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, yeah.
That's a bit grandiose when I'm saying that.
So a few of the weird things that happened then while you were on set was to actually do with ravens as well, weren't they? They kind of reared their, not so ugly heads.
There's a couple of weird things that happened. It was kind of just a weird, spooky, surreal time for some reason. Just by coincidence, the place that we ended up going for dinner every day was called the Blackbird Inn, and their bar was the Raven Lounge. And this was the only eatery / pub within maybe 30 miles of where we were. So that was unusual.
It's those little things those things happen to me. It makes me feel like I'm on the right track. It's almost like a marker that says you're meant to be here doing this.
Definitely. No, I always feel that way. I love when those little things happen. It just feels like a little sort of universal ping.
We had, there was a scene where we had this kind of this strange kind of raven type cross in a field. Mm-hmm. That we were basically, if you think of the Blair Witch type kind of crosses, the Raven Warriors have their own kind of symbols and things, these entities and stuff. And it was cool to seeing a pile of crows resting on that.
Like they saw their own.
Yeah, it was like, oh, they've come home. And with this filming there being such a microclimate that was always covered in fog, it was just like the birds looked magnificent.
Wow, you've got lots of other ideas on the go as well, haven't you? It's not just like this. You're already thinking ahead, aren't you? Already.
I guess. I mean, we have certain ambitions that we hope to achieve with folks working with us, and I don't know about you guys, but I looked at companies like Hammer in their heyday.
Oh, yes.
And I think, wouldn't it be amazing to have this kind of, almost like an edgy indie version of Hammer that was making more subversive films? Because when I think of the Hammer films I enjoy the most, it's films like The Wicker Man and stuff, the ones that had that more offbeat quality that seemed ahead of their time, or like The Devil Rides Out.
Devil Rides Out, yes, classic one.
Yeah, totally. So it's like, maybe we could have something sustainable making these kind of films. So we've got 2 films that we're developing for next year. That hopefully we can get something together for, and eventually we'd love to develop a wee studio as well that's totally dedicated towards that kind of folk horror, occult thriller, kind of ancient stuff and magical stuff, kind of influences that could become almost like a resource that artists can work with us with and experience and share.
Get like a vision of a studio / artistic commune.
Yeah. It might sound grand, but I mean, the kind of thing would maybe be like buying a former church or something like that and making that like a base.
No, that sounds excellent. That's definitely right up my street.
Fantastic, yeah.
Yeah, everyone have to be fully clothed though.
I guess we can manage that.
Yeah.
But it's cold up here, so that's probably why.
Yeah, it's cold down here at the moment, but obviously not as cold as it is up there. So there's a
It's funny because I live right near Bray Studios. Where the Hammer films, the early ones, and most of them were made.
Oh right.
Yeah, right in Walking, there's a lot of Hammer locations around me, so I see quite a lot of the locations from the films. And there's a film called Twins of Evil. I don't know if you know that one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that where it's filmed is a park quite near where I live, and I've walked there. The trees are exactly the same as it was there, so it's the whole ambience is there. The Hammer was all filmed around a certain area. All the locations are quite, like you say, about not using too much CGI. They're places people can go to.
Yeah.
Wow.
And there's a thrill for myself to go to a place and look at that and think, that's from, I remember the coach going past in Twins of Evil, walking around that area and seeing all these Hammer locations. So it's all quite near where I live, actually.
Location.
Yes, that's important.
So on the Kickstarter then, you've got 15 days to run. And you're over 50% funded now, and obviously looking at KickTrack, it looks like you're going to hit your 40k goal. So,
I mean, the thing is, it looks good. I mean, we're over 50%, but we've actually right now we've hit the hardest part of the campaign.
Yeah, the doldrums in the middle.
Yeah, you know how it is.
We've had a lot of support from people that have heard about us. But now we're entirely relying on new people coming on board.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge because, we've got the resources available to us to let so many people know about us. Mm-hmm. But they're fairly limited. So that's why it's so important for us to let people know about, and then why we're so grateful as well for the support you guys are giving us.
Yeah.
To let people know about what we're trying to do, because we know that there's plenty of people that share our interests, our passions, what we're trying to achieve. But the challenge is just letting them know. And so it's going to be so close with this project because now the next 50% is going to be the hardest 50%.
Yeah.
And so any pledge that anyone makes now is going to make a massive difference. And plus, it makes a great difference if folks can do so sooner rather than in the last few days, because it's weird, but seeing a campaign of momentum does seem to encourage a lot more people to pledge, and let's even Kickstarter put our campaign more visibly on their website as well.
Brilliant.
We'll get the trailer on the Kickstarter page, definitely. And obviously, Freddie and I encourage all listeners to head to Kickstarter and look for the Unkindness of Ravens. We'll put a link on the Facebook page as well, and be part of something brilliant.
You could be saving the British film industry rather than all the sort of insipid rubbish. You want good films out there, listeners. get behind this film on Kickstarter, because this could be the start of something fantastic and wonderful, a flood of films at your cinema you want to see, rather than the sort of 21 Jump Street version 6 or another rom-com. You want films about PTSD and ravens at the cinema. Get behind this, because that's what we want. That's what we want.
And I'll just say as well, I mean, they'll actually be creating a new film industry as well. I mean, and one they're actually a part of, that they're not just an observer of, because we're accessible. They can reach out to us as well. I'll just add, and this is just a cheesy thing really, but for a lot of folks, they think when they pledge that Kickstarter will bill them right away, but it doesn't actually bill them or you if you do pledge until the end of the campaign, which is on the 11th. And that's only if we reach our goal. So if we don't, then it all goes into the ether.
I'm thinking positively here, which that's not going to happen. But if that it's obviously potentially could happen that you don't reach your funding goal. But what are your plans if you don't reach the 40k goal? Will you? Everything's obviously going to continue as normal, but on a more sort of streamlined level.
I mean, folks will be able to meet me selling seashell necklaces on the beach.
The old grind.
So we'll get to talk about the Ravens film that could have been. The thing about, I mean, this is it. This is part of the adventure of filmmaking. There is, we've put our resources, we've put our time, we've put a bit of our money and everything like that into this project because we're passionate about it. Yeah. And to be honest, these projects only succeed if we can arouse the passion of other folks to get us excited and to get involved. So it is a bit of an all or nothing thing. But the one thing that we can guarantee is that, we meet the goal, then that's great, it'll all happen, that's fine. Like we did with Lord of Tears, which was also a Kickstarter, and we got everyone's rewards out safely, and it did really well. We can't really pretend that everything would just be great if we don't. We really do need folks' help. We really do need folks to consider putting in even just £1 to whatever they can, within reasonable limit, to support this kind of filmmaking in this project. But I'm confident that we'll make it because I just know that there's guys out there that care.
The Ravens told us.
Yeah, I feel that you will. I mean, it's a good vibe about the whole project as well. The trailer alone is fantastic. Do you know what I mean? It's very visual. It's to the point. It captures the essence of what it's about. It's atmospheric. So anybody, we're going to place it onto the Facebook page and Twitter. So listeners, have a look at that. And you'll see this is a worthwhile project. It's like I say, it's brilliant. I mean,
are you able to give them a one-card tarot reading for the Kickstarter?
I was thinking that myself. Right. Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'm going to sort of mix these tarot cards up. Lawrie, tell me when to stop mixing these tarot cards up, and I'll take the first card that comes.
Oh, no. I hope it's not the Tower, the Devil, and
Death.
They could all be positive things. You never know.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Right, are you shuffling?
Yep.
Yeah. Now.
Right, okay, let's have a look. You got the Page of Cups.
Oh.
That's a very positive card, I feel, for this project, because what it says, I feel there's a sense of fun around this film. Do you know what I mean? As well as it being a dark subject, do you know what I mean? I feel that you've had a lot of fun making it and enjoyed it. And there's a sense of enjoyment around this. I feel there's a lot of positivity around it. I do feel something that's going to have quite an impact here, is what I feel, what this card's saying to me here. And it's something that I feel that because you're both quite strong in what you believe, you're quite strong, you believe in what you're doing, that's what's going to come across to people, the sincerity.
Yeah, definitely.
That sounds great.
So I feel that success for this is what I feel. I feel this is going to be a very, it's going to be something that a lot of people, I also feel that you'll reach a target, but what I sense is that it will gain a reputation after that is what I feel as well.
Well, that's exactly what Lord of Tears did, didn't it? It was, you funded successfully on that, and then quite a few repercussions after that, like with the prank that you did in the building with the Owl Man, and it was picked up by the Mirror and various other newspapers, and that was awesome. Brilliant. Some brilliant guerrilla marketing.
Cheers.
Yeah, and again, what's the connection? Obviously, the connection with birds. You've got owls, ravens, Freddie's budgie. Is there a running theme with birds, or is it just that purely by coincidence?
I think there's a little bit of a theme. I think we've kind of got this idea of a kind of mythos associated with them a bit.
Yeah, well, the two, the Raven Warriors and the Owlman do sort of exist in the same kind of universe.
Yeah.
So
there's like Easter eggs basically for the initiated. And,
okay.
Yeah, we won't go into it too much. Spoil the surprise, but.
And so I guess, you know, like, it's a bit like you could read a short story, say, of like H.P. Lovecraft, and it'll basically be about a guy in a creepy house. But the thing that sticks with you probably is some of the weird references to some ancient civilization or weird things like that. So when we're thinking sometimes of the new films, and like the themes, like with the birds and things like that, it's a bit like, you know, we'll actually get ideas from the background settings.
Yeah, so you created a mythos yourself.
Yeah. A kind of birdie Cthulhu myth.
Yeah.
I've always thought birds as well are slightly, obviously, I mean, they're, you know, they say they're descendant of the dinosaur, and obviously the dinosaurs existed for millions and millions of years, for much longer than humans have ever existed, and it's almost like as they've sort of descended from dinosaurs, they belong to a race that has predated man for millions of years. It's almost like they themselves know more than us. As they sit in their trees, crapping on us and looking at us and attacking the next door neighbour's cat.
On command.
Yeah, hopefully this time next year.
Trained ravens. How hard are they to train? I mean, are they difficult? Animals are difficult to train, but.
Well, I mean, we're pretty ignorant of the processes of the bird handler's wisdom. I mean, but like, it can't be easy. It must be really rewarding, though, to have a connection like that with.
Yeah.
Well, I spoke to a bird handler at the Fairy Festival in Llangollen last year. Well, no, earlier on this year. And they had a raven there, and they just gave me loads of tips, but saying that all you got to do is they particularly like fruit, like strawberries and melon. If you leave that out for them, and every time you leave it out the same time every day, and then when it comes down to eat it, you just literally get closer and closer and closer to it each time, so it just gets used to seeing you there. And it'll get to the point where you're able to like put the food in front of you and it'll come down and eat it because it will just be used to your presence.
Oh, that'd be so satisfying.
Yeah, so at the moment I'm getting within about sort of 10 feet. But prior to that I wasn't getting close at all, because I wasn't feeding it. It was just eating, whatever it could find. But it's chased everything else away though. We used to, because we live in like an oast house, we've got like these cone-shaped roofs which used to be covered in bird shit from all the the pigeons and the starlings that used to go there, but now they're as clean as anything because the raven scares everything away. So saves us a fortune in roof cleaning bills as well. So they're amazing birds.
Animal actors in general are good. I think that there should be like a separate Oscars for animal actors.
Yeah, it's only fair.
My favourite one is a chimpanzee called Louis, and he's done a series of films with this director. They're called MVP. The first one got MVP, Most Valuable Primate. Mm-hmm. And then the first one, he plays ice hockey, and he actually, there's no CGI, no effects, he plays ice hockey. I was amazed by it. It blew my mind. Second one, he skateboards.
Yeah.
You check him out, MVP, and everything. There's one called MXP, Most Extreme Primate, where he snowboards, and if you watch the making of it, he actually does it. And the latest one last week was called Spy Mate. It's a James Bond film. But he was like a chimp secret agent. He did karate, and they trained him up to do karate and everything. He's a brilliant actor. I mean, he's better than, like I say, you put Ken Reeves and all that. And you thought, well, this chimp's got more a range of emotions than, But it's worth checking his films out. Louis, he's called, and very good actor.
Freddie will get chimpanzees into almost any topic.
I'm an expert on chimpanzees,
Yeah, you could talk about like fighting ISIS, and chimps would appear in there probably.
An army of trained chimps, like in Planet of the Apes, going over to that fight.
Probably fight better than ISIS. Chimpanzees.
Have you seen that video of one on YouTube where there's these soldiers? They're laughing at this chimp. They've got guns, and he takes one of his gun off of them, starts firing it about.
Yeah, I have.
Oh my God.
So you could train them up. They'd be good soldiers, I reckon.
Yeah, I think you're onto something.
And funny to watch as well.
The Unkindness of Chimps.
Fueled by PG tips, that's all you need. The Unkindness of Chimps, if you need someone in a chimp film, I'm your man for that.
All right, we'll put you down.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Well,
I'm best friend with a chipmunk. I grew up, see.
So, for obviously everyone listening to the show right now, by the time you listen to this, there'll be 12 days to run on the Unkindness of Ravens Kickstarter project. So we implore you all to go over there and pledge as much money as possible into the project so it becomes a success and this film gets the airing it deserves. Any final words, Sarah and Lawrie?
Oh, we just want to thank you so much for the opportunity of coming on the show and chatting to you guys and to everyone listening. Thanks for listening to us.
No problem.
Talk about our movie.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get you back definitely for obviously your future film projects, and also as we'll catch up on the Unkindness of Ravens probably when it gets released next July. We'll plug the trailer, stick it on the Facebook page. We'll play out with some of your music, Sarah, if that's okay.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Well,
that'd be great. Thanks.
We'll take the public vote from Spotify. So Wanderer is the top track on there, and it's also one of my favourite tracks. So
excellent choice, public.
Yeah, we'll play out with that one. Thanks a lot for joining us on the Mystic Menagerie podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys so much.
We wish you the best of luck, and we'll be following you closely. Not physically, but via the power of the internet. Don't look out and see like some half-naked man behind the washing line.
Not again.
Yeah, that's Freddie.
No, big success, and anyone listening, please get behind this film because it's going to be fantastic and a worthwhile project.
Thanks,
guys. Guys. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
If you fall in the forest, will you make a single sound when there are only trees to hear you? Will you ever be found? I told my brother to be careful. I told my sister to stay at home, but I can't force you not to wander, not to ramble and roam. Oh, when the night comes, you better find some shelter. There is no mercy in the dark. Oh, if I could have, I would have held her before the devil made his mark. When I am sleeping, come back and see me. I will know you in the black. If I am weeping, it's because I'm happy that my wonder is back. That my wonder is back. That my wonder is back. That my wonder is back.
Hello, and welcome back to the show. And again, as our special regular feature, we have the Fortean Oracle with the wonderful Mr. Nathan Sarea, who's back again with us.
Evening all.
Good evening, Nathan. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. A bit tired tonight, but nevertheless, I have got up, showed up, and here I am.
We really appreciate your time, and I'm surprised you're actually talking to us, lowly peasants, as you've been hobnobbing with the royals I've seen on Facebook.
I have indeed, Dan. Very true. It's all over Facebook. Basically, the fantastic Kate and William, HRHs, came to visit our Denby Men's Shed project. They were doing a little bit of a tour of North Wales. They came to us last Friday afternoon, Friday the 20th, at about 3:20. Amidst great excitement and a lot of confusion and a bit of argy-bargy, there was a bit of crying from members' wives about not being able to present their gifts, which we'd kind of been sideswiped by Mind, the charity that's initially started off the project and was, given us a bit of a hassle. So basically, it was this thing of, whose show is this? Is it Mind's show, or are they actually here to see Denby Men's Shed? So there, in the end, I had to go to the Secret Service close protection guys and actually negotiate to have these freaking T-shirts that we'd had printed for the Royals actually given to them. So in the end, I got a bit of a chat with their private secretary. She obviously used the shot caller of the team. Really lovely people. The entourage were great people. The close security guys were funny. We had a really good laugh. And I even had a good laugh with the police marksman. And unfortunately, none of them could do anything about the singing of the choir, which was interesting. So I did actually get when the police came to do the sweep of the room. We had a private room set up for them in case they needed a refuge. The police came to do the room, and the choir was singing on the stairs. And so,
oh dear.
So I said to the coppers, "I'm really sorry. Is there anything you can do about this?" And I said, "I've got to sit outside. You haven't got any earplugs." They were laughing. Yeah, they were very much so. And so, but once the police shut the door and did their sweep, I went into the art room because I was bored and actually getting a bit like, "My God, will you please stop singing Mad World?" I wrote "Help Me" on a little bit of paper with a pen and a face with eyes like squinting, and pushed it under the door. And they just fell about laughing and came out the door. And they were like, "Mate, that's brilliant." So
the worst choirs are the ones where it's all children, because they have that sort of Charlie Brown Peanuts singing out of tune like that. And there was a thing on telly where they had these kids choirs from out of the country, like loads of them, right? And they interspersed them all singing that Frozen, "Let it go, let it go," and it's a cacophony. It's not saying, "Oh, yeah, they're cute" and all that. It's not good. It's like they give credit to kids. Like a kid comes home with a painting, and "Oh, it's brilliant, I hang it on my fridge." You should say, "No, there's no perspective there." What is this? Is it supposed to be abstract? If someone, an adult did it, they think they're a bit too loudly. It's the wrong message. But those choirs singing "Let It Go," it was one of the most horrendous experiences I've ever had televisual in my life. This
is the part of this awful satanic X Factor culture which we've now adopted, which people, you think, have they got no real friends who've said, "Mate, to be honest, you are shit." They've gone, "No, go on, get on there, mate. You is absolutely, mate, you sing like an angel." And they go on there and go, and we all think, why?
There's only one thing worse than a children's choir, and that's a children's street dance group.
Oh, God, yeah.
And when they all sort of stand and salute at the end, and then the judges salute them back, it's what the fuck's all that about?
I know, when they're really awful. And, it's sort of having the cute factor, do you know what I mean? Years ago when I had a band, like a 15-piece cabaret band, and there's these contests, like talent contests, and you go in for it. And the band we had was a really well-rehearsed, brass section, tight as anything, And they have these kids go in there, sing out a tune, and all the parents go, "Oh, aren't they cute?" And these kids would win it and walk away with the prizes.
Yeah.
And I know we were a well-rehearsed, slick band, and there's comedians on there really good and dancers. But these kids, it's just because they were cute, because they were kids. The talent didn't matter, but some of them were awful.
Grandma, we love you, Grandma.
That turns into a kind of narcissistic adult who has no appreciation of reality and may also end up in a management role at some point in their life. And no one actually said, "Mate, you are fucking shit." And if only they'd said that at the start and just said, "Look, maybe there's something else. You want to be a fireman. Please don't become an occult figurehead because you would probably be shit at that as well. And there's no count for the amount of souls you might damage on your meteoric rise to fame. Your plunge on the way back down." So I'm just trying to,
an eventful day. then.
To say if I had my way, X Factor would be a different experience for us. I think that it's like, the only way is Essex and Made in Chelsea and things like that. For me, and this is not knocking anybody that was actually made in Chelsea, if either of you two were, but those programs would be given a much keener real edge if we could say, mate, I'm not sure how your life actually fits into the reality in which I work. However, what the viewers would like to see, as we've done a poll, mostly in the north, would be, how can you outrun these fierce, hungry fucking dogs that I've got here right now? Yeah. Relay bets how far you get. Now, that would be entertainment.
It would. I'd like that.
Sign me up.
Yeah, definitely.
Hunting of humans, televised.
You can't actually... I mean, I know they occupy a human form. You can't actually say that they are human beings, because what's up with all that fake tan and stuff and just going... It's genius. I would pay me to watch that show.
Well, it was predicted years ago. I think 1968, Frank Zappa's second album had a song called Plastic People.
Yeah.
And it's all about people like that. And this is in the 60s, And it's saying, you paint your face with plastic goo and wreck your hair with some shampoo, about these people that are vacuous and they care about the outside, but there's nothing inside. There's all these fake tans. And that's what it's like. They're very vacuous. You ever meet people like that?
Full of those.
It is. Sadly, it's become like that. And you can't have a conversation with these people because they don't have an interest in anything. They've got no specific taste or experiences. No. When talking to you two, you have a proper conversation. You both got experiences, interesting. Do you know what I mean? But you talk to these people, say, what music do you like? Well, what's in the charts? That's what I like.
No.
House music, And you say to me, what TV programs do you like? Oh, I like Breaking Bad, Game of Thrones, whatever every other cunt's watching, What films do you like? Oh, what's on the cinema this week? Oh, I like The Hunger Games. It's just the latest thing. And there's no actual... I admire people that like something that's really unfashionable, and even if it's awful, but they love it. If someone says, I'm really into, Agadoo, it's my favourite song, but they genuinely mean it with all their heart, I'd rather someone like that. Yeah, Chicory Tip, Son of My Father. That's a great old... I could play that on the actual...
I was listening to it this morning.
It's a song and a half. I mean, I used to have this thing called... it's a Casio... I think it's called Casio SL1, I think it was called. And it's like a small little keyboard. And it had like a drum machine. It went... Da 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 by Trio.
Yeah.
And I had that when it first came out, and I could play two songs on it. One was Chicory Tip, and also I could play Aha, the other Take On Me.
Yeah.
And people were so impressed by his two songs, they thought I could play any song on it. But I say, no, I'll give a demonstration. So they thought I was a maestro on it, because I can master two. It's like I know one song on the piano, and people think, because I play it all right, they think, oh, you must be a good piano player, but I can only play Conferences Close to You, and that's it.
Yeah, I could play Enola Gay. And
that's everyone
thought I could play properly, but no, it's just I could only play Enola Gay by OMD.
That's a top song, that is, yeah.
So what shall we do? Shall we pick our winner of our Halloween Hamper of Horrors before we continue with the show? Okay, good, because I'm sure the listeners are listening with bated breath to find out who the winner is. So what I'll do is in total, we've got 25 reviews. No, sorry, 24, which isn't bad. It's getting us up the polls. So I'm going to basically ask Nathan to give me a number between 1 and 24, and I'm going to count down the reviews, and the person on that number wins the hamper. Doesn't matter where they are in the world, they win it. So, Nathan, number
my
between...
psychic senses are being drawn towards the number 14.
Number 14, okay, here we go. 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, 14. Okay. And our winner is the man with the plan. I have no idea who that is. Right? But he actually wrote us it's actually probably one of the biggest reviews on
Have you got time to read it out?
So
Have you got time to read it out?
Shall I read it out?
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Okay, so the man with the plan on the 3rd of August wrote, if you're a fan of the weird side of life, you'll love this. While there's a side to the podcast that covers Dan and Freddie's bizarre magic performing background, most of the show is dedicated to discussing more Fortean affairs. Topics such as Spring Hill Jack, the Cannock Chase werewolf, hauntings in London, the Enfield poltergeist, tulpas, possession, exorcisms, Ouija boards, Cornish fairies, the 90s TV show Ghostwatch. Everything is discussed on the show. Everything discussed on the show is done. If it's not a contradiction in terms, in open-minded cynicism. These guys have been obsessed with this stuff for a long time. It's clear that they really know their stuff. They're willing to talk about the weirder side of life without being naive or gullible. This is really refreshing to me. It's also clear that they have a great professional respect for each other and know each other very well. This allows their own individual areas of expertise to shine, and they bounce ideas, both serious and not, off each other frequently, often with hilarious results. This is one of the 2 podcasts out of the entire galaxy of content out there that I felt compelled to support via the Patreon link. Give them a listen and you'll feel the same way. Carry on, guys. This podcast is something special. Wow, that is a sterling review.
That is an
yeah.
So
that's fantastic.
Your psychic ability actually picked out our best review.
Well, mate, what can I say?
So yeah, the man with a plan, whoever you are, drop us a Facebook message or an email and we'll get that big box of goodies out in the post to you. So thanks very much, and we really appreciate your support.
Man with the plan, thank you very much. That is absolute review. That's you are well deserving of the Halloween prize.
Definitely.
So yeah. Feel the love. That's just awesome. How did I do that?
I don't know. Amazing.
Yeah. So the man with a plan. That's a lyric from a Stevie Wonder song, isn't it?
I don't know.
Isn't it? He's Mr. Know-It-All, you know. Remember that song? He's a man with a plan, yeah.
Freddie, we'd have to bow to your musical repertoire to even we wouldn't know that. I mean,
my nerd-like knowledge of trashy pop songs from the 70s and 60s. So.
Yeah, definitely your area of expertise, that one. Right, so
definitely.
For listeners who've never listened before, this is the Fortean Oracle section. We're going to get either Freddie, myself, or Nathan to pick a number between 1 and 40, and we're still picking topics from the PG Tips Unexplained Mysteries of the World, because there's they're really good little bite-sized bits, and obviously
chimp size, yeah,
chimp size bits,
bite-sized chimps,
nibble size bits of unexplained goodness. So, who's going to pick? Who wants to pick the first one?
Freddie, I've already picked a number.
Go on then, Freddie. Between 1 and 40.
Okay. Also, all I'd like to say before we continue is that last month we discussed, last episode was this month actually, we discussed the Blackpool UFO Museum.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's actually reopened now, and it's called the Exhibition of the Universe.
What's the guy's name?
Oh, it's David something. But if you look on, he's got a Facebook page of Exhibition of the Universe, and it's still in the Blackpool seafront. And I'm going to contact him. I'd like to get him on the show. But if you look, there's a video on there of him walking around the museum, and it's about 30 minutes long. But it's brilliant. He's basically sort of saying everything in there is fact. This is how what man is made of. This is, it's gone more esoteric and more David Icke than it was before. So it's improved.
Put it on the Facebook page and tag Nathan in it.
Davy Boyle. Davy Boyle.
That's it. Yeah.
Davy Boyle. Bless him.
Yeah, I put the video on the Facebook page, so it's all there if people want to see it. And if you're not in the UK, you want a tour of the museum, look at our Facebook page. We've got the video on there. I posted it about a week ago, I think.
It's absolutely fantastic. Yeah. He is the man that was quoted at the Probe conference as getting the microphone too close to his face and saying the words "a book in stone," which did impress.
The pyramids are nothing more than a book in stone,
isn't it?
It's like the vicar who was doing the fancy dress.
Stone, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was a magic moment. You had to be there to appreciate it. So
the vicar who goes up to the children in fancy dress and goes up to a little boy dressed as a pirate. He goes, "Who are you?" He goes, "I'm a buccaneer." And he goes, "Oh no, I've got it wrong. Shit." He goes, "I'm a pirate." He goes, "Where you buccaneer? Where's your?" Oh, I tell you what, forget that.
Let it go.
It does remind me of the Benny Hill sketch where he's playing like he's either a vicar or a guru at Benny Hill, and he said peace on all of you. He goes, peace on you, peace on me, peace on all of you, and it's quite funny. It sounded like saying piss on you or like but it's
it basically says, "Where's your buccaneers?" And he says they're under my booking hat. Right.
Fabulous. Well, the number I picked today, and I think this is inspired by a conversation earlier on when we were talking about the film with the Ravens and PTSD and everything else. Now I'll say the number 19. No,
19. The average age of the combat soldier.
Vietnam, yeah.
Okay, right. There we go. Moving statues.
In fact, I have a fascinating story about that very subject.
What, 19?
About Vietnam veterans.
Oh, do you?
Right.
Yeah.
Do you want to do it now?
Yeah, my true experience of Vietnam veterans was when I was out in the States doing my multidimensional cellular healing training in about 1995. And I did that in Austin, Texas, and then I took a trip up to Colorado, and flew into Denver, and I stayed at some friend's place just... where was it? It was north of Boulder. So literally, I drove there in the dark. Didn't actually, know where I was. And obviously, you go right up into the Rocky Mountains. So I'm staying at this place. Me and the girl I was with at the time, we took a drive out in our brand new hired Jeep across to a place called Nederland, where I was hoping to catch up with a harmonics.
Michael Jackson.
No, not Neverland. Netherlands.
Oh, right.
This a D. And in Netherlands was Jonathan Goldman. Jonathan Goldman was a former harmonic vocal teacher of mine, who's a great guy, and who believes he's a reincarnation of Jesus' rabbi. I was trying to catch up with him. Anyway, we went on our little merry way across the Rockies, and then Anne-Marie said to me, "Oh, there's a place down there. Look, there's a little town down in that valley. Maybe we can get some eggs." And this place was called Ward, W-A-R-D. So I turned the Jeep down the road. You descend into this little valley, and it was one of those very eerie places with mist hanging in it, in a kind of like bowl of this valley. Not a very big place. If you're driving down, there's all kinds of dead animals like nailed to posts and skeletons nailed to things, and antlers everywhere, and clearly the trophies of all things they've been killing. Yeah,
takes us straight to a massacre.
Get this, it gets better. There was a few abandoned military vehicles. So we pulled up at this one, what looked like store, the only kind of shop that was there. There's a collection of shacks and rundown houses. And so as I'm parked up, I'm sitting in the thing. Anne-Marie's gone into the shop to get some eggs, looking in the mirror, and behind me is a cliff wall, going back into the stone of the Rockies. Out of this cliff face, from a kind of cave opening, appears a guy in a kind of gillet, like a flak jacket, vest, long hair, beard, bandana on his head, and he just comes out of the cave, just stares at the Jeep, like right through me, basically. And I'm thinking, wow, 1,000-yard stare, there it is for real. And as he sort of steps into the light, he was carrying a broadsword and a machine pistol, like a Heckler and Koch.
Sidearm, like a...
the sort of thing that the police carry, a proper full-size machine.
Okay,
short of an assault rifle, but definitely not a machine pistol. It was what we call, a small machine gun.
Yeah.
With a loaded magazine in it. And he just turned to his right and walked, to my kind of right, behind the Jeep, walked along. And I just sat there, and you go, oh, fuck! So I'm trying to send psychic signals to Anne-Marie, because she was a Irish lass from Dublin, and she was in the shop going, blather, 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 I said to you, man! It's like, get out of the fucking shop! So anyway, she comes lolling over to the Jeep, like, with all these eggs, and opens the door, and she goes, do you know what? Fucking blah, and I'm like, get in the Jeep now! Don't you shout at me! And I'm like, get in the fucking Jeep! Basically dragged her into the Jeep, smashed the eggs. She's like, what are you doing? What are you doing? I was like, have you not seen the man walking around with the sword and the machine gun? And she was like, where? I'm like, fucking there! So I just like turned it around, spun it around like something out of a film, hurtled out of this valley. And anyway, went back on the way to Netherlands, trying to explain to her what had actually just happened, and that there were people living in the caves there. So this is 1995, and then we as we went back to our friend's house later on, we said, oh, we went to this really strange place to go and get some eggs, and this woman said, what was it called? And we said Ward, and she was like, oh my god, you didn't go there? We were like, well, it was on the way, so did you miss something you should have told us? And she went, oh, look, no one goes there. It's the place that the Vietnam vets go to die, basically.
Jeez.
Oh.
And we were like, shit. And I was like, well, clearly some of them are still alive, and they is armed. Now, cut forward to a more recent trip to the States, which would have been in 2007, 2007, I think. I went out to do the New Living Expo in San Francisco, and I happened on the chance to work at a holistic cancer center in Mesa. And I went to work for these people. Got talking to the nurse there, who was a girl from that area of Colorado. And I told her about the experience of going to ward, and she said, "Oh man, didn't you hear about what happened? The whole place got like leveled and blown to shit." I went, "What?"
Jeez.
One of the guys lost it, welded himself inside a small tank.
Shit.
Jeez.
Blew the fucking place to pieces.
Jeez.
Bloody hell.
Didn't drive over, he apparently bombarded, and in the end they had to literally I think blow his tank up with an RPG and blow him up inside it because he'd welded himself in. No, seriously, they had to take him out. I think he was took out by an airstrike or something.
Yeah, that's proper mental stuff, isn't it?
Yeah. So, I mean, really, guys, if you're suffering from PTSD, please do get yourself along to a counsellor or a therapist who can actually help you with some of that, because...
don't go and live in a cave in the desert.
Yeah, it's like Reverend Jim Jones meets Rambo, isn't it?
Yeah.
So when my mouth hit the floor, because I was like, you know what, I've put myself into some dangerous positions, but I had no idea when I went to that place just how dangerous it was. But I mean, this girl Kirsty was telling me the story, and she was like, "Well, haven't you heard what happened?" And she said that literally this was devastated, and they had to actually blow this guy up. They could not get him out of the tank.
Jeez.
So
on a Vietnam kind of. As we're on a Vietnam tangent, it's quite an interesting one about Vietnam. They actually employed Red Indian or Native American Indian trackers in Vietnam. They thought they'd be good in the jungle for tracking the Viet Cong.
I've heard this. Yeah.
And so, but what they did, obviously, the Native American Indians believe that the long hair gave them their power, their ability, to obviously track. Yep. But what they did, because they joined the army and the Marines, they shaved their hair off, and when they got out there, they didn't have the ability to track anymore. They couldn't do it. They were useless. So this is a kind of a strange one that, did the hair give them the power, or was it a kind of
well, it definitely gives me my power, Dan.
Are the antennas for the cosmos?
My long curly locks are definitely my empathic antennas for the cosmos. So I was out there demonstrating some of the old empathic gifts, and I'm intending to keep them as long. At the moment, the problem is it starts falling out from around the central crown, which, if I'd been told that many years ago by my father, that hair would disappear off my head and appear out of my nose, my ears, and on my arms, I think I might have wanted to have
arse then.
Arse as well. Yeah.
I've got a kind of weird. If I grow too much facial hair, I become really negative.
Really?
So I have to kind of I have a fine balance of hair on my face, which keeps my temperament in balance.
But you never joined ZZ Top then?
No. For God, I'd be hanging myself with my beard if I was in ZZ Top,
or hurting other people. But you do have a finely balanced hair proportion in the facial department. It does work. Yeah. I'm sure you spend a lot of time on it,
tinkering.
Just tinkering. It's a thing
I have done over the years, but it's something I need to have. But if it gets a bit out of hand, I become very negative and slightly difficult to live with.
That's interesting.
So I had a shave this morning. I'm quite perky.
It's fascinating. I wonder what that is. It's like,
people with big beards are quite intense people, like Brian Blessed and Giant Haystacks.
Yeah,
they're quite intense. The bigger the beard, the more intense they become. As powerful. Yeah, like a bear of a man. To paraphrase that, Mason. Yeah, but like something like Brian Blessed, very shouty. And he comes across as quite aggressive. But it's a beard that gives him the power. I believe you shave the beard off, he'd be a teddy bear.
What's it? Women with beards are usually quite negative as well.
Yeah, I think so. Apart from the one on the Eurovision.
Apart from that one. Right, so number 19. No, 19.
Yeah, bring forth.
Okay, the moving Madonnas. And we're not talking about True Blue Baby, I Love You.
Yeah, I Love You.
So we're talking about the apparitions of the Virgin Mary are reported worldwide. Statues weep and icons bleed. And healing at these various shrines is also commonplace. So, shrines and bleeding Madonnas. What do we think about that?
Yes. I have a little bit of first-hand experience of one of these when I went to the legendary Chartres Cathedral, which is south of Paris, in France. And I wanted to go there and go and see the labyrinth at Chartres Cathedral, because it was built by the Knights Templars in about the 12th century AD. And this is a circular 12-circuit Christian-style labyrinth, which they built. It mirrors the exact dimensions of the big window in the front of the cathedral as well. You can actually literally, if you folded that window down, literally pivoted the upright wall down onto the floor of the cathedral, the actual images of the window would map perfectly over the Chartres Cathedral labyrinth. And this place, even though it's 800 years old, the labyrinth looks like it was made yesterday. It's absolutely pristine. It's beautiful. They normally cover it with chairs when they have big sessions in the cathedral. So that's the setting. This place is phenomenal. It chimes. It has a Tower of the Sun and a Tower of the Moon, two distinctly architecturally different, very different towers. When it chimes, it doesn't chime on the hour. It chimes on the beats to the calls to prayer throughout the day and night, all day, all night. Wherever you are in Chartres, the town itself, you can feel the power of this place. I mean, literally, you can close your eyes and go, it's over there. Because wherever you are, you can feel the energy of the cathedral, of that site. It's so strong. It's like the Village of the Damned. It's unbelievable. But when the bells toll, and it has a good old kind of like pealing of the bells, the surface, I witnessed the surface of this building rippling and going in and out of the dimensions. Now, I've never seen a building do that before until I saw Chartres Cathedral, and it literally ripples like it's made of liquid. It's phenomenal. But underneath, you can go on a tour of the catacombs, and underneath the main building in the catacombs, there is a shrine to the Black Madonna. And these Black Madonna cults were outlawed at one time in Europe and other places. And these are some of the ones which have the manifestations of the weeping or bleeding Madonnas.
Yeah.
So the cult of the Black Madonna is something which is very interesting, because in Chartres it's a really large vaulted ceiling, all painted in a night sky with stars and everything in there and constellations, and this fantastically ancient carven Black Madonna, which would have been mostly, just sort of in a very, very dark space. Obviously it's lit now, but it would be there in candlelight. Real presence to it, really fantastic. And one of the other astounding things about the underside of Chartres Cathedral is there is a well, which on the pictures of the sort of guidebook just looks like a little well that comes out the side of a little corridor.
Okay.
And you think, well, you're going to go up to this and you can just, look over and there's your little pool. It's just literally there's the top, plop your pennies in. Well, as you walk up to it, you look down, it's 300 feet straight down.
Jeez, okay.
300 feet straight down through the chalk. Yeah, literally. And at the bottom, it goes into a square shape, which is apparently in line with the Great Pyramid of Giza. So that... Giza. You look down at it and go, whoa, look at that. And then the guide took us on forward from there, and he took us down these steps through a cave kind of entrance and showed us the foundation stone of Chartres Cathedral. But what he also showed us was the 1,000 years worth of phases of buildings that had stood there previously. So he could say to you, that's Merovingian, that's, someone else, that's Saxon, that's Roman. And so there's been over 1,000 years of building on there before the Templars came along and actually constructed it.
Jeez.
It's a bizarre place, because the site was actually sacred to the Celts of that area. And they had a kind of prediction that this Christ-like child, like the Mabon, was going to be born to a virgin. But they had that prediction. They had that prediction 2,500 years ago, 2,500 BC, perhaps. So you have to think to yourself, well, it's been an ancient sacred site to the Celts for thousands of years. Then it's been occupied and slowly built on and built on and built on. And then finally the Templars came along and built this phenomenal structure on it, which they used the height of their building technology and their esoteric knowledge to create this place, which does actually ripple in and out of the dimensions. It goes between the worlds, but it literally vibrates and energizes the entire town through being connected to that chalk bedrock. And deep in the recesses of the crypt and the catacombs is this black Madonna. And that's one of the only ones that's been obtained. Say again?
Is she meant to cry? Or
Yes.
Some of them like smile or wink, don't they? And
yeah, she's one of the ones that cries. I'm sure she's one of the ones that weeps. And some manifest stigmata. I find it very interesting, when, for example, going on the same sort of lines, manifestations of the kind of Christian ethos, to me, mythos, are very interesting, because why do people manifest stigmata? Are they a real phenomenon? Because I think they've been documented to be real.
Yeah.
The same with the crying Madonnas. Is this a manifestation of the collective mind's intent or the wish for this thing to happen? Or, have we got it wrong and we should all be going to church on Sunday because, Christianity's the way God's looking down on you now going...
Well, then you could say that, but then also there's the Del Boy. Remember the Miracle of Peckham, the Only Fools and Horses, where they had the crying Madonna? It's a leaky roof, wasn't it? Yeah. That's right, yeah. And also the other thing, talking about weird statues and all that. I mean, there was a story a while ago. In Madame Tussauds, the waxworks there. The hair on Adolf Hitler waxwork started growing.
Ooh.
Do you remember that? The hair started growing, and that to keep cutting the hair of the waxwork of Hitler. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that the waxworks have always struck me as very strange. They used to terrify me as a kid. There's something too lifelike about them.
Well, they're wax effigies, aren't they? So that's what they use in magic rituals.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the hair actually grows on it. Yeah, because they said that to keep trimming the hair on it, but only the Hitler one for some reason.
That's very odd.
Very strange. I think it's in '96. I think it was in the Times newspaper. So that's quite a valid source. It wasn't in like the Weekly World News or the Sun or anything. I remember they showed it on TV on that. You remember the Fortean TV program with Lionel Fanthorpe? They showed it on there. Yeah,
that's the guy. Lionel Fanthorpe. Yeah, Fanthorpe.
Yeah, Fanthorpe. Yeah, he's got a beard as well. And
he's got a beard. He's got a booming voice. Yeah, exactly. He's quite fearful, isn't he?
I had to actually make a weeping Madonna for a client about 5 years ago as a private commission. He wanted a weeping Madonna that cried blood. So
really?
Yeah. So I got hold of it was a garden ornament one, a really sort of rough concrete one. Took a cast of it and then created like a hollow version of it. And I racked my brains for ages trying to think of a mechanism that would make it cry. I was thinking of syringes with motors that had tubes that went up to the corners of the eyes. And my mum she uses so many different types of air fresheners in the house, not because the house is particularly smelly. They have got 2 dogs that do honk a bit, but she's got all these different types of air fresheners. And I was sitting there one day and this thing hissed at me from behind the settee. It went like that. And I was like, what the fuck was that? And I turned around and it was a automatic Glade air freshener. And what you do...
one of those, yeah.
Yeah, you put a can inside and it's got a little timer.
That's right.
And a motor pushes the can up and it squirts.
Pushes it, yeah.
So I went out and bought one and I replaced the can with a can of red dye. And so it was on you could change it between a half hour and a 15-minute timer. And just did some actually put the nozzle really close to the inside of the back of the head and put like an absorbent material on there. And after about 2 or 3 squirts, the liquid started to ooze out of the holes in the eyes, and it would cry every 30 minutes.
Genius.
Yeah, so it worked. And the only problem is after a sort of few hours of working, the dye used to sort of dry in the holes, so you'd have to sort of take it down and stick a pin in Mary's eyes to sort of clear the holes a little bit. So, but if you watered it down a little bit, you'd sort of get like a pink kind of tear rolling out of the eye. So
wow.
So yeah, it did work well, and I thought, well, there's probably a market for it. You could actually sell them to churches to actually get pilgrims to come.
You could
make a fortune.
Yeah, they'd rake it in, wouldn't they?
They would. Yeah, I mean, it's not just Christian culture alone that has this. There's like also a story about the Ganesh. The Hindu, the elephant man. They have one that they hold milk up to it, like a little jar of milk, and it was drinking. The milk disappeared from the little bowl. They're supposed to be drinking it. There was a scientific explanation for it. I think that someone sort of said that it's not a miracle. I think
like
it's
porous material or something on the statue.
Yeah. That's right. I
made
it
of
was something to do
sponge.
with.
Did
Either
of you ever? You ever see them going keep with the sort of Far Eastern theme? Did you ever see film of Sai Baba, the Avatar, manifesting Vibhuti? Ash.
Yeah.
Ash. Have you ever had any, Freddie? Any Vibhuti?
I've had Vibhuti.
No, I haven't.
Very interesting. Definitely something to it. I've had devotees of Sai Baba in the past years come up to me and give me. At one time I was getting a steady supply of little bags of powder. I
thought when you meant Vibhuti, I thought you meant the South African dish, which is like a shepherd's pie with cheese on top.
That's Vibhuti.
I've had shitloads of that, but I can't say it's transported my mind anywhere.
I've had that as well. Yeah,
transported my arse to the toilet quite rapidly on one occasion.
South African shepherd's pie.
Yeah, sorry, carry on.
So Vibhuti is manifested ash. Sacred manifested ash is one of the manifestations of the avatars of the Far East and associated with India. And Sai Baba, who is one of the most famous of avatars, he used to manifest this Vibhuti, and he'd literally put his hand into an empty jar, shake it around, and it would fall out with a cloud of this ash, loads of it. And all I have to say is that no matter what people thought, when you actually took Vibhuti, you'd put it on your third eye, you'd put a dab on your tongue, or even be in the presence of it, it definitely had a very, very powerful spiritual energy. It was very, very charged. So it was clearly something. It wasn't nothing, like someone had turned up with a bag of ash and gone, "Yeah, mate," and you thought, "Oh, that's like a bag of ash crap." It definitely had a resonance to it, and it used to have a definite effect when you put it on your tongue, when you put it on your third eye. Definitely, I definitely had some powerful experiences with that stuff. So
wow.
as an aid to meditation, as an aid to sort of increasing psychic powers, it was something that I used to great effect in my sort of early days of developing my own sort of spiritual energy. Definitely a real manifestation. There's a great book called God Lives in India, and that was this book about Sai Baba. What made me laugh was there's a chapter where he talks about, I think one of his helpers or one of these guys from India whose actual name was Kaka Dick Shit. It's actually in the book. And then you looked at it and thought, Kaka Dick Shit. He's just, for real. Is that the guy? I swear to you, I'm going to find the book. I've got it at home, and I will post it on Facebook.
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, Sai Baba had a big Jackson 5 afro, so maybe that's where he got his energy from. Like as we talked earlier on.
It's exactly where, because Sai Baba has got the afro of God.
The old Jackson 5 afro, isn't it?
Exactly it. And it's the way to go. So, Freddie, when you put yours on, you got to feel that avataristic power.
Oh, the
if
afro.
You can manifest some bags of powder, we'd be friends.
That's definitely a course or a book to write. Transform your life with Afro energy.
Afro energy. Oh, S. Rob could write that.
Afro energy.
Yeah, S. Rob, if you're listening, Afro energy. That's the way forward.
Yeah.
The bigger the Afro, the more power you have.
Yep.
It's like a microphone for the cosmos. Let the cosmos speak through you.
Yeah. 1, 2 testing.
Like, So
microphone.
Moving statues then. So we sort of kind of think, well,
moving statues.
There is some sort of truth in it, but obviously some of it could be the Del Boy rain dripping off the roof onto the statue.
As Christian people in the past, as far as I'm aware, have had a tendency to produce miracles of the magnitude of a blag, shall we say, that it is well known that, even in earlier years, that Glastonbury, for example, when they claimed to have dug up the bodies of Arthur and Guinevere being very interestingly buried in the middle of Glastonbury Cathedral, Glastonbury Abbey, that this not only legitimised the Plantagenets' claim to the throne of Britain, to be kings of Britain, but it also made Glastonbury a place of huge pilgrimage. So, whenever you turn up with, St Armistead's finger bone or something like that, everyone goes, "Oh, it's his actual finger bone." And no, it's just probably, might even belong to a sheep or something. Might be a sheep's knuckle.
A toy shop, yeah.
Yeah, so basically people attach this kind of cosmic significance, this miraculous significance to these things, and really they are just a ruse to generate, pilgrim income into the area, into the church themselves. It's one of those things, isn't it, that it's happened, definitely happened, but, moving statues, do they actually move, or does someone just go, right, no, I'm looking, shift it quick, oh, it's moved! And if you're in dire need of financial income, why wouldn't you do that? I'd do it.
Yeah, well, most churches are at some point, at one point or another. So,
if I could think of a really, really clever one, guys, I'd already have done it.
What about a mummified fairy found in a?
There was this bloke. Wasn't there this bloke that did that?
There was, yeah. Terrible. I don't know how he got away with it.
The
only movie I've seen a movie statue before, but the only time I saw it was on the streets of Edinburgh during the festival time.
And it was sprayed silver.
Sprayed silver, yeah.
And had one of those squeaky toy sounders in his mouth and moved every 2 seconds. Yeah, moved every.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Or he stands really still, picking up to me, and goes, "Rah!" and scares the shit out of kids and stuff. Yeah,
that's it. Right, shall we get on to? Shall we have a look at the next number? What we got?
Yeah.
Between 1 and 40, Nathan.
32.
32. Well, that's spooky because I was actually on that page.
You kidding?
No.
Am I hot tonight or what?
You are.
I am the zone.
Tuned in.
I reckon when you're tired, you're more psychically attuned.
Do you think I am? I am. Must be. Must be. Yeah.
Right. This one is Ghostly Hands. It's actually a spirit photograph of 2 child's hands holding a man from behind. Basically, he's sat against a brick wall, and there's 2 children's hands holding him. It's a really eerie photograph, actually.
Yeah.
I'll have to stick it on the Facebook page, but I suppose it fits in with the spirit photography, really. Whereas this isn't like your typical kind of black and white spirit photography, or actually something that's quite hazy. It is actually 2 fully materialised hands holding a man physically from behind against a wall.
I shall pass over to Freddie's expertise on this area.
Yeah, I've been in seances before and seen spirit hands materialise.
What I'm going to do is, while you chat, I'm going to photograph it and stick it through on Messenger so you can see it. All right?
Okay, mate. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in seances. I mean, I've seen materialised happen with my own eyes. And sometimes you think, hang on, is that someone waving around about? Was there something going on here? But it's not. Everyone was holding hands. And I've seen it on a table. Do you understand?
Really, materialised on a table.
Yeah, I mean, it's like misty at first. Like
like ectoplasm.
It's like a greeny sort of mist.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then it forms the shape of a hand. Do you know what I mean? And it moves about the table. But it's like a disembodied hand sometimes. Like the one from the Addams Family. But imagine like a green, misty version of that. It's that kind of thing. And I've seen it in my own eyes. Astonishing. I've only seen it twice before, but I've actually seen a hand materialise before.
That's pretty far out.
It is spooky. I've sent the picture through now, so you guys should see it on Messenger.
Right. The hand I see is nothing like that. That looks like a real, like it's a flesh-coloured one. The ones I saw was like green, like a glowing green, like a mist. Like, imagine if you had like a green smoky mist, and it formed into the shape of a hand. That's basically what I saw.
Like ectoplasm, then, really forming.
Like an ectoplasm hand, yeah. That's what it was, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it was incredible, And the other thing I saw was it come out of the end of something. I saw once. I was at a sound there was a trumpet, and it was on the table, and it just suddenly fell on its side. And I only saw the side of it, but this woman said like a child's hand came out, like a baby's hand at the end of the trumpet, and tried to touch her, and then went back in.
Oof! Really?
Yeah. And the thing is, earlier on in that sounds, we thought were child spirits because it's quite boisterous. There's, your feet were being touched and that kind of stuff. But it did feel like there was something really weird going on. But yeah, so it's quite clear. I saw something inside the misty side, shape of it coming out. But she says like glowing white in front of her. This like child, like a baby's hand.
That is quite eerie. That proper freaked me out, I think.
Yeah, I mean, like these events, like the events that I put on, I've seen things before which are frightening life. I'm awful. You know what I mean? But because I'm the person that's running the event, I've got to seem cool and calm about it all. I've seen some really weird stuff happen.
Freddie, how do you actually keep your shit together when something like that goes down? I mean, really? Because you are the host, obviously. You have to sort of I'm all right. What's that? Never mind.
It's been, I talk about it, discuss it, but being professional about it. But then because people can get hysterical. I've had people faint, screaming, all sorts of things at these events, you know. And I've got to be calm all the time. And at the end, I might go home. What the fuck? Do you know what I mean? I've seen some really strange things. One of the weirdest things. You know what I mean? I go home and then have a breakdown. But one of the weirdest things that we've ever had happen before is before we do we go to places where we hire like a really old building, like something from 800 years ago. It's got a history. I've got a bloke who works with me, and he researches it. He's like a historian. He researches the history of the area and the building. And before we do the paranormal night, he takes people on a ghost walk, like around there, and the history. This happened here, this happened there. And one of the places that we actually go to is like the River Thames. And it's a very old part of the river, and it used to be like a gateway between Datchet and Windsor Castle, like when boats go across, to visit royalty and stuff like that. And this is and there's a lot of suicides have happened there and accidents in the past, and even now you still get a few people jumping in there. But there was 20 people on the ghost walk, and out of 20, 16 in broad daylight saw an apparition. And what it was a woman in Victorian clothing pulling a baby out of the water. Right, and then it sort of like went back again. And she kept pulling it out of the water, like this baby, like a dead baby. And if they thought it was someone in like period costume, like maybe because you get events going on around in Windsor and places like that, people dressed up. They thought it was someone in Victorian outfit, you know what I mean, for an event or something going on. They thought it was someone dressed up, but then they realised it was actually an apparition because it was like a loop. It was almost like getting a small bit of film and playing it again and again, like a GIF thing, I suppose, filed, but repeating the same action again and again. So rather than actually being a ghost,
the hologram of Princess
Leia. It was like very much like that, and it was like it's the same thing going round and round and round, and it's almost like I feel that there's ghosts which are there are spirits which you can contact the ghosts, but also apparitions are like video recordings of events that have happened in a place or a building, and the place or the energy of the actual area plays them back to you on a loop. So when people see like a ghost going down the same thing every, I was when Hampton Court, it's the same ghost that keeps going round in circles doing the same things. It's like a video recording, like a paranormal video recording being played back like a loop. But this is
back on a loop.
And usually these sort of apparitions are seen like in the darkness, but this is like full daylight and 16 out of 20 people could see it.
What are the chances of that? That's a real manifestation.
That was mind blowing. The weirdest experience of a ghost I have had, and it's the same to do with the hands, the ectoplasm. It's I don't know if I said this before. Years ago, my mate used to go to the pub. We used to go walking through like the countryside because he lived. There's like a few fields, and his house like a village on the other side of it. We walked through this like massive field.
I've just got to come in and say I'm going to actually go and switch the lights on in this hotel room.
Right.
I've got stuff manifesting in the room, and I'm going to go and put the lights on.
Okay.
Oh no.
Just let me. Freddie, put lights on. Always do this to me.
Freddie, you're giving him the willies. That picture is spooky though. That ghostly hands picture.
That is really creepy, And
it's just like that card used to creep me out as a kid. Every time I saw that, it would scare the shit out of me.
Because they just look like severed hands that are attached to him. It's just very, very weird. That's the weird, thing about. But these apparitions like that. It doesn't look like an apparition of a hand or a spirit hand. It doesn't look like an ectoplasm hand. This looks like an actual person's hand, doesn't it?
Two disembodied hands, isn't it? Physically gripping him.
They're quite small. They're like kids' hands, aren't they?
They are the children's. They're about a 5-year-old kid.
Yeah.
However, looking at it from a sort of sceptical point of view, I would say the way he's sitting on that bench, a 5-year-old kid would be able to fit behind. So it could be that he's being cuddled from behind by a skinny 5-year-old who's squeezed in behind him on the bench. When you're like sometimes. Say you like, there's the man on his left, and he's sat there. He's obviously showing him something which looks like a book. Say he was like talking, and then he wanted to shuffle closer to show him something in the book, but he shuffled, and the kid didn't really move out of the way, so the kid kind of gripped him as he moved towards him, so not to crush the child. There's possibly a child squashed behind him against the wall, not dead uncomfortably, but children are children squeeze into small spaces.
Yeah, and if you look at it, the kid could have his feet up on the back of the thing, just hanging on. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah, yes. Because the thing is, you've seen loads of pictures like that on Facebook. These sort of weird photographs where it looks like someone's got an extra hand and all that. You see these on Facebook. People share this picture, where that hand come from, and it's someone, and just like the way it's the angle of it, or it's like a optical illusion. And these days we see stuff like that all the time. We just think, oh yeah, it's just a trick of the camera. But in those days, you didn't see these pictures very often. So you look at that for ages and just think, well, that must be real because. It's the only time I've ever seen it. and now we're bombarded with these images that look a bit odd, or that someone takes it at a weird angle, or that kind of thing.
If you also look, if you look actually sort of beneath the man's legs, if you look at sort of how thin the bench is compared to the distance between the wall and the bench, there's actually double the width. So the bench isn't flush against the wall. It's actually offset against the wall by probably about another 25 centimetres. So there is space behind there to fit a child, and maybe they're just out of view of the camera. However, if it's a genuine spirit photograph, it is a genuinely creepy one.
It's very creepy. It looks like, it does like a kid old. They're child's hands because they're really small.
We'll put it on the Facebook page. I'll
help people think of it.
Yeah, I'll actually post it up there, and people can have a look. So, how's the ghosts at your end, Nathan? How's the manifestations?
That's right. I put the lights on. Last time we did this, I did have a really funny evening. My house was absolutely full.
Right.
I kept watching stuff all night long.
So it's almost like our talks attract them.
Yeah. Nice. I think because we'd very much gone to the subject of spirit from manifestation, and Freddie was talking to us about, we were discussing Ouija boards and stuff, weren't we?
Yes, right, yeah.
And the room became very, very busy. I was catching a lot of stuff out of my periphery vision, and temperature fluctuations, all sorts of stuff. So I was just sat here in this room, and I'm on the 10th floor of a hotel in central Cardiff, and very nice, big suite. It's quite a big room, and they're all balmy onesies. I've got big windows, literally 90 degrees, huge windows, probably about 15 feet of windows, floor to ceiling on either side of me. So I'm right on the corner of the hotel, so I've literally got this massive view all over the city from both sides of the hotel room. It's quite an interesting sort of space, but it's right on the corner of the hotel. You have to come down a little corridor, then down a little corridor through a private door, and there's just these two rooms on the corner of this wing. So it's quite isolated. I'm not tuning myself up at all by saying that. But
it's not a Premier Inn, is it? It's not a Premier Inn, is it?
No, luckily not.
Got Lenny Henry next door.
It's a Mercury.
Because Dawn's eating all the food in the house, so he's had to sleep somewhere else.
No, so just now and again, I'm when I'm tuned in, I sense things pretty quickly. So I think one day, Freddie, we'll come down and see you. We'll do one of these tours and seances and see what manifests with me around.
Definitely, it'd be great, because we had the recent one we did was like it's like a building about 4 or 5 years old, an old abandoned pub. And it's basically nothing inside there. And if you went upstairs, like the floors were rotting, you'd fall through it. You had to sort of take certain rooms. We had mad. Like we was in the sort of like front bit. We had to have like a fire, like a log fire, keep us warm. It's freezing. And the front door just whacked wide open as if someone would come barging through it. No one was there.
Well, there used to be, when I used to go to, I used to teach at the West Cheshire College in Hanbridge in Chester, and Hanbridge is on the Welsh side, what was the Welsh side of the River Dee, and the actual Hanbridge pub, which is quite an old pub. Whenever I used to go in there after teaching at college, now and again we go in there with the students, for an after-hours drink after teaching the night class. I first noticed that when I sat there talking to people, and this massive man came in ghost form, and a really big guy. I mean, he was probably 6'5", 6'6", huge, broad shoulders, a massive guy. And he used to come and stand right up against me. And, fucking hell! I was like, look at me, going, "You're right," and I'm like, "No, something stepped up, and he's gone right up to my space." And I said, "He's really big, really imposing, really powerful character." And every time I went in there, it did it every time. And people were saying, "Well, can you tune into things like that?" And I went, "Well, I haven't got a choice, really, because he's right next to me. I mean, he put his hands on my shoulders. He'd be a bit like, Richard Keel, played Jaws, that sort of thing. But even bigger than him, thicker set than him. That sort of height and build, but thicker, like massive. I don't know who he was. Very frightening, this sort of person that would snap you in half. And that was my experience of him in that place. Used to make for an interesting after-hours drink, but It's for those of us that have got a bit of the sense of these things, it's nice to be able to sort of filter it out. I remember going to a friend of mine in Shrewsbury. He'd moved into this 14th century building by the castle, and he was renting a room off this lady, and his room was all panelled with like sort of 14th century oak panelling. And in the corridor, you had to go out to the little bathroom, was a little toilet. It literally was only like a toilet you could stand up and piss in, really. And it had a little sort of, latch wooden door. And the corridor was like the sort of 14th, 15th century part of the building. And he stepped out of his room into the dark flagstone corridor. And from down the corridor came this hurtling presence of spirit as I wandered towards the toilet door. And it came hurtling up the corridor because, of course, I think they could see my light. And I could definitely sense them. So they were like, hey, who are you? We've got guests. And there's about 7 of them, and they all piled up against the door. So, of course, I'm literally standing trying to piss into this china bowl. And then it's like literally you can hear them breathing up against the door like this. And I was like, do you know what, guys? Can you just fuck off a little bit? Because I'm just trying to take a piss. Please. Can't I have any privacy? Because they were coming through the door behind me. And I'm like, get off me back. Seriously, get off me back. This is not nice. So we had to get him sort of back off a little bit. And, I sort of managed to get out the door and ran back into Luke's room with my friends. They were looking at me and I went, it's not going to believe what just happened to me in the corridor. I'm not going to the toilet again. You're all coming with me. Or at least tell me where the light switch is.
Yeah. Well, I had a bit of a spooky experience after S-Rob's summoning of an army of shadow people that we did earlier on in the show. On the day...
When was this? What time?
We did the recording. No, it was 2:00 a few days ago. But obviously, if you're listening to the show, it sounds like we do it all at once. But to shatter the illusion for the listeners, we do record it in segments throughout the week. But earlier on in the show,
which day did you do this?
This was
it Monday? Was it Monday? I think
it was Monday. Yeah.
Okay.
So what happened was. We did this ritual and we did the closing sort of the ritual as well. And when we was in America, my wife has got a Pebble smartwatch, and because it was Halloween, she downloaded a special screensaver, and it was a skull that would pop up every 15 minutes and it would make your wrist vibrate and a skull would appear. But obviously on the way back, she got rid of the app and closed the app down because it wasn't Halloween anymore and it was quite annoying when you're trying to get to sleep. So she got rid of the app. Anyway, that night, the same day that we did the ritual with S-Rob, we'd just literally gone to bed, turned all the lights off, and her watch buzzed and this skull flashed up because we both felt the watch vibrate. She lifted the watch out of bed. The skull appeared on the screen, and as soon as the skull appeared, literally at the same time, the motion sensor light in the corridor that we use at night time to go and see the children came on its own, as if something had walked past it. Yeah. And both of us were a little bit kind of, what the hell was that? My wife doesn't listen to the podcast, and I didn't tell her that I'd actually been upstairs summoning shadow people all afternoon, so she wouldn't have appreciated that.
I don't think she'd have appreciated that.
But yeah,
the cat's now out of the bag. So.
Yeah, it was genuinely creepy. Yeah, because the motion light never comes on, and obviously it needs a physical something physical to walk past it, and lo and behold, it just illuminated like ping on its own.
But you remember my story about my little brother?
Yes.
And that thing coming down the drive, setting off all 3 of the security lights.
Oh, yeah.
There was nothing visible. Same thing, set off all 3 of the security lights, came down the corridor, and they could actually hear it moving down the corridor, walking on the chipboard, floorboards.
Yeah.
The point where I could almost sense it breathing through the door.
Yeah.
That real.
Well, I've actually seen a shadow person briefly. Quite a few years ago, and they are in effect they seem to absorb all the light around them. It's like the blackest black you've ever seen, the pitchiest black. It's almost like they suck in. It's almost like a black hole. They suck in the light around them to the point where they're so black. So they almost are like a solid object of just blackness.
Yeah.
Very, very creepy.
They're not good.
No.
in a remote place.
It was rather strange. You did jog my memory about something me and Freddie spoke about though last week, I think, and that was, he was on about coming down and maybe doing a séance with Freddie. But we have Doomsday South next November, right? Yep. We was thinking a Mystic Menagerie panel, or almost like the Fortean Oracle live. So it would be the three of us on stage with the audience just launching questions and then just having a bizarre conversation for an hour as a kind of light sort of, the beers will be out by then. So it would be a full-on sort of debate with the audience and with us on stage. So it's almost like a Mystic Menagerie live for an hour. Yeah. And then obviously 2 days of getting pissed.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Great.
Brilliant. That's going to be fantastic. So if people listening haven't bought their Doomsday tickets now, you're going to really want to come, aren't you?
Yeah, well, on the next show, we'll make hopefully more announcements. I mean, as it stands, we've almost filled the day. So for our first ever Doomsday South, it's going to be it is going to be like the Royal Variety performance, except it won't be royal, but there'll be a lot of variety.
Unless you want to give William and Kate a bell if they fancy coming down, Nathan, because they're welcome.
Yeah. Well, no, they might do. I'm still waiting for my invite. I'll let you know when it happens.
Okay.
When you get your knighthood, let us know.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's only good and proper. The good work I continue to do for everyone out there.
Sarea, that's a bit of a mouthful.
It'd be nice.
Sarea, yeah.
Recognise.
Great. Had we better let you go to bed now, Nathan?
No, you woke me up now. How can I go to bed? My room's full of bloody things now.
Shadow people, you're going to talk to them all night now as well. The shadow people are going to be with you.
Don't say that because they would fucking hear it.
It'd be worse would be the shadows with their red guitar all night. That would drive you.
The shadows.
I'll tell you, I don't, there's some music that you can't stand. I don't know. I know he's a bit iffy, but Cliff's songs are all right. But Shadows on their own, for some reason, Sam's guitar, can't stand it. And there's this geezer. We used to go to the pub. We used to go looking for ghosts and all that, me and my mate. And there's this garage that's always open all the night. And this big fat bloke worked in there, and he always played the Shadows music. And he had this cassette of them playing TV themes, and it was absolutely awful. It was like EastEnders going down, and playing stuff like Animal Hospital on his.
Or was he doing that walk where he kind of walks a few steps forward and a few steps backwards in a circle?
Yeah, they do. I mean, the bloke was too big to even move out of his chair, but if he could do it, he would have done that walk. I reckon he would have done.
Hank Marvin playing Apache at the end of your bed all night.
That'd be horrific.
Apache. Ding, ding, ding. Terrible. Most of the young listeners won't have a clue what we're talking about. So,
but it'd be horrifying. Don't even look into that. That's probably one of the most horrifying things we talked about on the show.
It is. So what now then, chaps? Should we let Nathan go to bed with his shadow people?
Yeah.
Not going to bed with the shadow people. Please stop visiting this upon me. I can sign off. I have a very, very busy day tomorrow.
Okay.
I'm probably going to have a bit of a busy night tonight as well, doing the rest of my work for my presentations. So,
well, you are going to come back for our Christmas special. We're at the Mystic Menagerie Mansion. We're going to lay on a buffet of mince pies and sherry, and we're going to sit by the fire telling ghost stories, if you fancy it.
Sounds like a plan, Dan.
Wonderful. Well,
get your spookiest story ready, Nathan, for this one. One that will
spookiest story ready. Wow. Okay.
One that makes people defecate, and they can sort of text and see who actually messed themselves with stories that scary.
The spookiest story will be one that involves E.T.'s secret government and people walking through the walls.
Ooh,
fantastic.
It was real, it was live, it was shit scary, and it terrified people. So,
what a testimonial. Nathan Sarea, he made me shit.
Yeah, that'd be great. For the next iTunes review.
Yeah.
Left me like a quivering whippet.
Yeah, shaking like a shitting dog.
Shaking like a shitting dog. Yes. So we shall have the Tales of Christmas.
Good. Well, we shall bid the Oracle farewell for this evening. We thank you once again for joining us on the Mystic Menagerie.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you, Freddie. Lovely to be on board as ever. You know that.
And always great to speak to you.
we'll look forward to catching up in the week and then plan for Christmas. Why not?
Definitely, mate.
I think anything better.
Well, have fun tomorrow and sleep well.
As we enter the exhibition, we are introduced with an ET telling us about everything. This exhibition contains the entire workings of the universe. Who you are, what you are, where you come from, where you go, and why you're here are all explained in great detail. Explained in mathematics, geometry, frequencies of light and sound, all put together to give you the most comprehensive exhibition the world has ever seen.
Hello, we come to the end of another mammoth show, another 3 hours of paranormal fun. Show 15, so that's show 15 over, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you enjoyed it. It's been a very mixed bag as usual, all different things, so hopefully we keep you entertained for the last 3 hours, whatever you're doing, whether you're driving in a car, sitting at home, or walking through the woods, or, just... or sit on the toilet even, we had a wonderful time. Some people may listen to it on the toilet, who knows? It may help relax them.
Yeah, it might help your movements.
Yeah, your bowel movements, yeah. Maybe an aid to digestion, yeah. So,
well, if you saw those shadow people, it might aid your movements.
Definitely, yeah, whether you're sitting on the toilet or not.
Yeah, if anyone did actually join in with the summoning of the shadow people during the S-Rob section, we'd be really interested to hear about anything that you saw.
Yes.
Obviously, during the section with Nathan, I let you know what happened on the same day at this place, which I found a little bit spooky. But if anyone else has any more eerie tales about the shadow people, then please let us know.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, it'd be great to let us know, because it's a bit of an experiment and a bit of fun to see what happens here. So hopefully, you've had an experience which you can relate to us. So let us know. Let us know on the Facebook page, or tweet us, or email us, and let us know, and we'll read them out on the next show. So yeah, that'd be fantastic if you let us know if you had a Shadow Man experience.
That's it. So next show, episode number 16, will be out it will be out before Christmas Day, hopefully the week before Christmas, so probably around the 19th or 20th of December. And what is episode 16 going to be about, Freddie?
It's going to be our Christmas Ghost Spectacular. Christmas
Excellent.
Ghost Stories.
Wonderful. So there's always I think Tom over at Spectral Times tweeted out today that there's a severe lack of anything ghostly over the Christmas period, because he was looking for something to write about in the Spectral Times.
Well, let's change that.
Yeah, there's no sort of BBC ghost stories, or Christmas is a time for sitting around a fire and telling ghost stories.
It is, yeah. I mean, it used to be very traditional to have ghost stories, and nowadays it's just, I suppose there are things like these Noel Edmonds. It's all things like Mrs. Brown's Boys Christmas Special and that these days. Which is not. It's creepy and sickening, but in a different way. It's horrifying. It's horrifying when you think people actually like this. That's what scares me more. So that is scary in its own way, I feel, but not as traditional as a lovely ghost story by an old burning fire.
No. Well, we're just going to see if we can get some celebrity ghost stories. And obviously Freddie and I, and I'm pretty sure Nathan's got some ghost stories.
Oh, definitely. He's bound to have, isn't he?
One or two, possibly definitely 3 or 4, or maybe even 5 or 6. So
probably a show's worth, maybe even, I reckon.
Possibly, yeah. We'll see if we can get any celebrities on board to give us their best ghost story, and just sort of look ahead into 2016 as well. We're going to do a review of 2015. So we'll do a show which will have what we think are all of the highlights from 2015 in a show. So if there is any favourite elements from the past 12 months that you really like, let us know via Facebook or via email what you thought, and we'll add it to the Mystic Menagerie 2015 review.
Excellent, yeah. I look back on the year. A bit like those programs they have on New Year's Eve, those sort of look back at the year, that kind of thing, but better.
Exactly. I'm looking forward to it. So there we go. That is the end of November. 2 shows in a month, and we delivered. We did exactly what we said we were going to do, and we can sort of sit back and relax a bit now before we get the next show together.
Excellent. We hope you enjoy the show, and we hope you'll be joining us again next month for our very special Christmas Spooky Spectacular.
And we're going to play out with another one of Sarah Daly's tracks under her artist name, Metaforest. And yeah, I hope you like this song. And if you really like her music, then get on over to iTunes or Spotify and download the album.
Wonderful.
Hammers and hurricanes at the door.